Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our participants joining us from across the world. On behalf of the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this special event held as part of the World Cities Day celebrations. Today's program has two main components. We will begin with the ninth meeting of the United for Smart Sustainable Cities U4SSC initiative, a United Nations initiative supported by 20 UN entities, followed by the digital transformation webinar on empowering lives through people-centered smart cities, co-organized by ITU and UN Habitat. After the webinar, we will reconvene for the second part of the U4SSC meeting to continue our discussion and review future activities. My name is Yining Zhao, Junior Communication Officer at ITU, and I'm delighted to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for today's event. Before we begin, allow me to share a few housekeeping rules. All audience questions will be taken during the Q&A. For our participants, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. The moderators will address them during the discussion, so kindly indicate the name of panelists to whom your question is directed. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be made available on the event website after the event. And now, to officially kick off today's event, it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers, starting with Mr. Seizo Onoe, Director of the Telecommunication Standardization Bureau at the ITU. Mr. Onoe will deliver his opening remarks through a video message.
It is a great pleasure to welcome you to the ninth meeting of the United for Smart Sustainable Cities Initiative, U4SSC. This is a United Nations platform for cities supported by more than 20 UN entities, all working together with one shared goal to help cities become smarter, more sustainable, and truly people-centered. At the International Telecommunication Union, we are proud to serve as a UN agency for digital technologies. Through our study group 20, we develop international standards for the Internet of Things, digital twins, and smart cities and communities. These standards build trust and connection. They help cities share data safely, work efficiently, and ensure that innovation benefits everyone everywhere. But technology alone is not enough. It must serve people, their needs, their hopes, and their future. That's why the U4SSC key performance indicators, based on the standards ITU and UNECE, are so important. They help cities understand how technology translates into inclusion, resilience, and sustainability. I am very proud that the city of Quito, Ecuador, has just completed its KPI evaluation. Congratulations to Quito. This is a wonderful example of how standards can drive real transformation and make life better for citizens. I warmly invite more cities to join the U4SSC program to share knowledge, learn from one another, and shape a world where every city is smart, sustainable, and people-centered. Together, we can turn technology into trust and innovation into impact. And I would also like to invite you to join the special session of the U4SSC as a part of Smart City Expo on the 5th of November 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Onoi, for your inspiring words and for setting the stage for our discussion today. Next, it's my pleasure to invite Ms. Paula Deda, Director of the Forest, Land and Housing Division at UNECE, to deliver her opening remarks. Ms. Deda, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And it's a great pleasure to welcome all of you online today to the 9th meeting of the United for Smart Sustainable Cities Initiative meeting. I would like to thank, first of all, the International Telecommunication Union, and Christina Boetti in particular, but all our partners, organizations also for convening this important dialogue once again. And I would say it's never been this important to address the matters related to the sustainability, but also to the smartness of cities, given how the world is evolving. Although we are meeting virtually, our shared undertake to shape sustainable and inclusive urban future connects us strongly across borders. And as I said, even more than before. Over the years, the initiative has become a model of how multilateral collaboration can translate strategy into action. And since its launch, we have worked together to equip cities with practical tools, standards, and partnerships that have helped them thrive in the face of complex urban challenges. So this meeting continues that spirit of cooperation. Reflecting on our recent progress, it is encouraging to see the continued impact of the key performance indicators for smart sustainable cities developed jointly by UNECE and ITU 10 years ago and endorsed also by our committee here at UNECE, the Committee on Urban Development, Housing and Land Management, back in 2017. These KPIs, which are recognized as a UNECE standard on smart sustainable cities, provide a globally consistent framework for assessing urban performance aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. Building on this, UNECE has completed two new smart sustainable cities profiles last year, the profile for Almaty in Kazakhstan and the profile for Podgorica in Montenegro. These studies provide practical recommendations on improving data governance, urban resilience, and sustainability. As urbanization continues to accelerate, the need for evidence-based policies that integrate environmental, social, economic, and technological dimensions is more pressing than ever. The U4SSC has been instrumental in developing that common language and the practical foundation for city leaders. Looking ahead, we have a key opportunity to advance our shared priorities. For your information, earlier this month, the ministerial meeting on housing affordability and sustainability was held as part of the session of our Committee on Urban Development. And ministers and high-level representatives from across the UNECE region have agreed the housing crisis represents not only a national challenge, but also a critical urban one. Ministers adopted 13 commitments aimed at addressing this crisis, including the establishment of strategic cross-sectoral platforms to coordinate housing policy across all tiers of government. One of the key messages from those discussions is that effective housing policies today demand robust data ecosystem and digital transformation capacities. So smart technologies and shared data standards can help cities design and implement integrated housing strategies, linking land use, affordability, climate resilience, and social inclusion. This is precisely where the U4SSC community plays a unique role, helping cities harness digital solutions responsibly and inclusively to improve people's quality of life. As we open this meeting, let us reaffirm our shared commitment to advancing the smart sustainable city agenda. Together, we can actually make data-driven, human-centered urban development a reality. So let's continue to invest in collaboration, in innovation, and most importantly, in the values of sustainability and inclusivity that define our vision. Thank you so much, and I wish you a productive and inspiring meeting. Back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Dada, for your kind words and insightful and inspiring remarks. Finally, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Okan Gary, Chair of U4SSC Initiative, to offer his opening remarks. Dr. Okan, the floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. It's a great honor to join all of you today at the 9th meeting of the United for Smart Sustainable Cities Initiative, U4SSC. As you heard, U4SSC is the United Nations platform for cities, bringing together a growing network of UN agencies, city leaders, and experts to accelerate digital transformation and ensure that technology serves people. I'm delighted to share that UNITAR has officially joined U4SSC as our 20th UN partner organization, further strengthening our collective commitment to advancing smart, sustainable, and inclusive urban development through knowledge sharing and capacity building. Through our 8 thematic groups, U4SSC addresses the many dimensions of smart city evolution, from artificial intelligence and foresight to digital well-being, public infrastructure, governance, and data-driven decision-making. These groups are developing frameworks, benchmarks, and guidelines that help cities translate global goals into tangible local impact. This collective output is a testament to the power of our multi-stakeholder model, and I thank every United Nations organization, expert, and contributing city member for this monumental achievement. Today, we are also proud to launch our new report on people-centric digital transformation, offering a strategic framework to guide cities on their journey toward inclusiveness, resilience, and sustainability. It builds on the collective expertise of our members and on our shared belief that the digital future must be people-centered, transparent, and trustworthy. Ultimately, our success will be measured by our relevance and accessibility to the people who need them the most, the city mayors, local governments, and their representatives. They need actionable shared guidance and phased guidance. Hence, we should translate complex policy and technology concepts into clear, practical roadmaps and action items. We should also ensure our tools are flexible enough to serve both megacities and smaller municipalities. We should also maintain a clear focus on priorities that matter on the ground for the cities. We must anchor our work in the principle that our primary stakeholder at the end of the day is the citizen, and our client is the city governments responsible for their citizens' well-being and prosperity. Let this be the year we unify our global effort. Let us commit today to building an even more robust and resilient partnership among ourselves that empower people, inspire innovation, and leave no one behind for the cities we serve. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all our partners, colleagues, and city leaders for your continued dedication and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Okan, for your insightful remarks and continued leadership. Without further delay, we now move to our first session titled Anticipating Tomorrow, AI Wellbeing and Foresight in People-Centered Cities. This session will be moderated by Professor Ebru Kano-Skulu, Director of the Global Water Academy at UNITA. Ebru, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Yining. Good morning, dear friends, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, good evening from all around the world who was joining to our meeting today. It's a very important day for us and particularly for UNITAR because, as Dr. Giray mentioned, UNITAR has recently joined the U4SSC initiative, and we're very proud and eager to collaborate with everybody here in this room. And as Yining, you mentioned, I'm the Director of Global Water Academy at UNITAR and the Deputy Head of CIFA Global Network. It's my pleasure to moderate this discussion. In this discussion, our experts will share their ongoing work from developing AI policy frameworks and scenario planning methods for urban resilience to creating benchmarks for digital quality of our lives. Together, we'll look at how we can bring foresight, ethics, and human-centered design into city strategies to help build urban communities that are not only smart, but also resilient, inclusive, and of course, truly thriving. Let me welcome our panelists, Sumaya Bandu, Working Group 4 leader of the U4SSC thematic group on artificial intelligence in cities, and Dr. Okangirai, chair of U4SSC. Welcome, Sumaya. It's a pleasure to have you here. The floor is yours. Dear Sumaya, we are not able to hear you.
Okay, is it fine now?
Wonderful, thank you, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening, colleagues and participants. So I will be, thank you very much for the invitation today, and it will be my pleasure to guide you through the progress of the thematic group on artificial intelligence in city and providing some updates and the progress of the work that has been done under this thematic group. Next.
Dear Yiring, can we move on with the slides?
Yes, we are having some technical issue, but
Okay.
Please just give us 1 minute.
Sure.
Grace, can we try again? Maybe can you go ahead while we are sorting out the technical issue? Thank you for understanding, Sumaya.
Yes, sure. Do you want me to share the slide?
I think now it works.
Okay, perfect. It's working. So the thematic group on artificial intelligence in city has been led by Dr. Okangirai, and I joined the leadership recently. So this thematic group is really focusing on AI for cities. And the purpose is to develop frameworks, methodology about AI in cities, whether it's independently or in conjunction with different technologies, big data, IoT, cloud computing, and many others. So recently there is a working group exploring as well agentic AI system and autonomous cities. So those are also part of the thematic groups area. So there is, the main focus is on developing and setting a different guideline for cities and city managers and policymakers on developing on how to adopt AI, on implementing AI solution effectively and sustainably, inclusively. So there is different initiative under this theme. So basically, I will go from the completed working groups till the newest one. Next, please. So the completed one is the working group 1, guiding principle for artificial intelligence in cities, that has been led by Dr. Okangirai and Victoria Papp. And the guideline was published. So guiding principle for artificial intelligence is published with a set of reports, case studies on different cities. You can see on the screen case studies related to multiple cities. Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, Copenhagen, Buenos Aires are all available on the webpage of U4SSC for downloading or consulting. Next, please. The second ongoing working group is about autonomous city, led as well by Dr. Okangirai. So the scope of this working group is really to understand and explore and study the potential of running urban service and operational processes in cities. And the outcome will be to develop a guide on autonomous cities and multiple case studies that will provide a a real-life perspective on how cities are guided autonomously. And the autonomous city concept and the extended in its practical application, so there will be around 10 case studies. So the autonomous city framework will utilize artificial AI and machine learning along with other supporting frontier technology, and it will have a system approach reflecting the true nature of cities in real life. The third working group, next please. So the third working group is also ongoing working group. It's about AI-driven KPIs measurements, and the originality of this working group is to use non-traditional methods to measure KPIs using AI and data, and different data sources such as next generation sensing, satellite imagery, to enabling increasing sensitivities, accuracy, and speed of data collection to facilitate AI techniques to measure KPIs. So the upcoming meetings of these working groups will be next year in January, February, and April. So the working group will be progressing through 2026 to provide as output a guide to AI-driven KPIs and several case studies from across the globe. Next, please. So the fourth working group is also ongoing. It's the working group that I'm leading with my colleagues at UNUE-Gov, titled First City, Fostering AI for Inclusive and Responsible City. I will take a few minutes as I'm leading this working group to give you some details of the work that is ongoing. So this working group is addressing different types of questions. They are mostly complementary to the working group one, to focus on the different principles related to the implementation of AI. So how can city align their AI initiatives with their specific priorities and needs? So this is one of the first dimension. The second one is related to the principles and sustainability, responsibility, and inclusion. And the second part is to address the critical gaps between what cities have currently and what they need to implement, govern, and utilize AI responsibly and inclusively, and to provide as an output a tool. Actually, this tool is not really an assessment tool, but it's a tool that will allow to most of the cities to have access. It's a repository. I will explain it later. It's a repository that is under preparation that will encompass all the guidelines, framework, models that are available for cities to be able to, whether throughout the life cycle, assessing their progress on AI for city, keeping in mind that their compliance with certain principles and international guidelines. Next, please. So in this working group for cities, we have conducted since it starts 4 working meetings and 1 brainstorm session where we have built together the different principles of this guiding this working group. And so the 4 dimensions that we have agreed upon are fair AI, inclusive AI, responsible AI, and sustainable AI. In each one of these different principles, we have discussed what are the core concepts and principles included, the key issues and challenges, and what are the existing measurements, framework, and practices. And we are at this stage now to identify these different measurements, frameworks, and practice that I will show just in the next slide, please. So basically, so those are examples of the different principles, such as algorithmic justice, equality, non-discrimination, people-centeredness, accessibility, participation, circular economy, environmental responsibility, etc. So those are the how we divide and organize the different principles and providing what are the key issues related to each one of them, what are the challenges that city might face, and how to mitigate and overcome those difficulties and challenges, and providing frameworks and best practices and measurements on how to do that, such as bias detection, human oversight, participatory design, digital inclusion, digital rights. So we are collecting all these models in a database. Next, please. So this database is shared around across all the colleagues. They are all participating, feeding the different. So we are trying to provide a very comprehensive tool, a repository. So this database will help to build the repository where there will be all the frameworks that will help cities into adopting AI fairly, inclusively, sustainably, and responsibly. So we are taking responsible AI as a common ground, and concerning fairness, inclusiveness, and sustainability will be adapted, and we will provide an approach on how to adapt each one of these dimension depending on the city context specificity. And so you have here anyone that are in the audience today. If you want to contribute, if you are aware of different frameworks, models, or guidelines that can be useful for city, or you have tested, we are very happy to hear from you. And you can scan, you have your QR code at the right that will give you access to the document, and you can contribute and collaboratively to build this database. So the framework, the repository will be shared on the UNU eGov platform. And this UNU eGov platform, you just need to register, and you will be able to have access. Anyone will be able to have access to all the information, all the frameworks, all the deadlines, all the guidelines. And the next meeting that we will have will be in November. So we gave us a deadline 10th of November. Next, please. 10th of November to the colleagues to finalize this work. And so we will organize a new collaborative session to see how all these frameworks and guidelines are linked together, and how they are, there is overlap, or they can document different variables. So the last working group, which is a new working group, it's working group 5 on agentic AI for city, led by Dr. Okanjirai. The kickoff meeting will be next month in November, 26th of November. And this working group it has the objective to define and study and investigate the deployment of autonomous AI agent in urban domains. The purpose is really to accelerate the transformation of cities and smart city by using these autonomous technologies for including predictive and dynamic optimization. So there is different dimension in this working group, developing high-level architecture, establishing ethical tools, and creating validation framework for agent stability, transparency, and safety. And they will also investigate developing an assessment framework as an output of this working group, and to be able to complement this working group with different other autonomous city working group in collaboration with the previous one that we have presented earlier. So this is it for me. Thank you very much. And I will be happy to provide any answer to your question, particularly concerning the working group that I'm leading. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Sumaya. Thank you. That was extremely insightful. And now, dear colleagues, dear participants, we will continue with Dr. Okanjirai, who is the chair of U4SSC. And we've heard also from Sumaya that he's leading some working groups. So it is our pleasure to have Dr. Girai for this next speaker. Please, Dr. Giray, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sokullu. In the next maybe 10 minutes or so, I want to give a brief progress overview of 3 thematic groups in the U4SSC initiative. As I mentioned earlier, we conduct our work around thematic groups, and within those, we also form working groups. So among those 3, the first one that I want to go through is the thematic group on digital well-being. Next slide, please. Basically, the thematic group on digital well-being was formed to define a holistic framework for digital well-being along with a simple implementation methodology. In fact, if you look at cities today, they are undertaking smart city strategies, digital transformation strategies, and it's all about providing services to people, to individuals, to businesses, to their stakeholders, and to their citizens and customers. But provisioning is one side of it, the supply side of it. On the demand side, we need to also strike a balance almost in terms of the users of these services, the consumers of these services. So this thematic group specifically targeted the user side of the story, and we wanted to address issues pertinent to the consumers of these city services. So that was the overall perspective. And the framework that we have developed is also pertaining to the user side of the individual side of the story in general when it comes to digital transformation. And we also, as I mentioned, in addition to the framework, we also wanted to develop a very simple 4-step implementation methodology using the framework itself. So the thematic group emphasizes digital well-being's critical role in creating sustainable, people-centric cities through digital transformation. And it's also important to note that addressing digital well-being is important in achieving high usage or uptake of these digital city services. And ensuring appropriate demand for digital services in general, which in turn increases the return on cities' digital transformation investments. So that's also a very important actually outcome that cities want to achieve in general. Next slide, please. So I'm actually happy to announce that we have concluded the work in this thematic group by developing a guide to well-being, a deliverable, which we call a guide to the digital well-being. And additionally, we've also completed 7 case studies across the globe, which encompass applications of digital well-being in different contexts, be it public, private, or non-profit sectors. So it's a mix and match of those. And one maybe humble observation that I can make is that most cities do not take a comprehensive view of, or a holistic view of digital well-being. What we have noticed throughout the thematic group is that there are certain maybe individual initiatives that cities undertake pertaining to individuals, maybe children, maybe screen time, for example, security issues, cybersecurity related issues, a portion of maybe digital divide, but they are not looking at the big picture when it comes to all these factors that contribute to digital well-being. So that was a humble observation that we made, and the framework that we developed actually is quite comprehensive when it comes to identifying issues related to digital well-being. And the case studies also illustrated some of those applications that we have seen across the globe in different sectors. So we will officially launch these deliverables actually, the guide and also the 7 case studies next week in the Smart City Expo U4SSC session in Barcelona, which Mr. Seizo Onoe was also mentioning in his opening speech. So if you are there actually in Barcelona, we would love to have you join us in the session where we will talk about in more details about the deliverables. The guide sheds highlight, the guide actually sheds light on the distinction between digital well-being and traditional well-being, and it highlights the subjective nature of well-being in general, including digital well-being. And it aims to provide a structured approach to understanding and managing digital well-being. And the framework actually proclaims that digital interactions are shaped by 3 key perceptions. So it's all about subjective perceptions, how individuals see themselves, their skills, their capabilities, how they perceive their digital environment. All the individuals actually conduct their digital transactions in a certain city, in a certain context, subject to certain regulations, for example, policies, guidelines, laws as well. So this is all about the digital environment. And then the third one is also how they interpret or how they perceive digital influences. In other words, the digital interactions that they conduct with the city services, with private sector in general. So these three perceptions make up the overall approach in digital well-being for us. And the guide also outlines a pragmatic, as I mentioned earlier, implementation methodology designed to enhance digital well-being in cities. So it's developed as a simple four-step methodology to help practitioners apply the digital well-being framework concepts and to develop targeted interventions to enhance digital well-being. Next slide, please. The next thematic group that I would like to give a brief progress overview is the digital transformation on people-centered cities. Basically, this thematic group sits right at the intersection of digital transformation and people centricity. So it has a very actually niche positioning, I would say, between technology and people-related issues, and it aims to guide cities in leveraging emerging technologies and fostering inclusive digital transformation, including digital economies, to build smarter, more sustainable and equitable urban and rural environments. So it has a broad perspective, actually, when it comes to digital transformation. And the group also examines how digital transformation in cities can advance the digital economy and support the implementation of the Global Digital Compact. That's an important framework, as you know, that has been approved by UN member states in general. Next slide, please. So I'm very happy to indicate that we have completed the work in the first working group. And as I mentioned at the opening speech, we are very happy to launch actually our first deliverable from the working group, which is a framework for people-centric digital transformation in cities. In general, we will go through this in more detail actually in the upcoming webinar very soon. But the framework provides cities with a structured and people-first approach for digital transformation. It aims to put people unequivocally actually at the center of digital transformation. The framework is built on 5 pillars, and these pillars create a comprehensive guide for cities seeking to align technology with human needs. So technology is an enabler, but the human experience should define the measure of success for cities. So the framework emphasizes that successful transformation is not just about deploying technology, but it's about embedding human-centered principles into every aspect of urban governance in general. So this is the first working group. I'm also happy to announce that back in July, working group has also completed its work, and we have produced 2 deliverables in the working group, and I would like to commend Professor Leonidas Antopoulos actually for these 2 deliverables. One of them is a methodology to measure and to assess net zero initiatives of cities. And the second one is similarly not the methodology, but the guidelines to achieve net zero in cities. So both deliverables actually contribute significantly to achieving net zero in the cities. Moving on to other working groups. So those were actually the completed tasks in that thematic group. Moving forward, there is still ongoing work in different working groups actually under the thematic group. Working group 2, which is led by Bettina Tratrayan, and she is still leading the working group. One deliverable was produced last year in 2024 regarding dynamic policy benchmarks for people-centered cities in digital transformation, and the work is still going on. Then there will be further deliverable actually coming up in the upcoming period. And I'm also happy to indicate that working group 3 is looking at people centricity of digital transformation from a performance, impact, and maturity assessment perspective. So I would like to thank actually the co-leaders, John Smith-Siklas and also Gamze Hakbigeray for leading this effort in working group 3. They are formulating a KPI-based performance assessment methodology for cities. So there will be a list of KPIs pertaining specifically to digital transformation, but people-centric aspects. not technology-oriented, but more people-centric oriented. And there will be also impact assessment. And in the second phase, they will be looking at maturity assessment in the working group. Is again led by Warren Smith and John Davies. I would like to again commend the two co-leaders for the intergenerational procurement for achieving people centricity in cities. If we think about it, procurement is usually done with a short-term focus. It's a transactional maybe activity, but they are taking a much longer-term perspective when it comes to investments in digital transformation and smart cities also. In fact, most of these platforms that cities invest in are long-term investments. Maybe they start small as a pilot, then they gradually evolve and grow, but it's very important to have a longer-term perspective when it comes to people-centric aspects. And I'm also very happy that we will be kicking off, in fact, a new working group very soon, which is going to be about digital development goals. And I would like to thank both Bas Boomsma and also Teppo Rantanen for leading this group, and I would like to warmly welcome them to U4SSC. This is a new working group that will be kicked off, and it will identify digital development goals. It's going to definitely take into account the SDGs and the Global Digital Compact, but we'll conduct work to formulate digital development goals. Next slide, please. And that takes us, last but not the least, to the thematic group on future foresight for cities. Next slide, please. I'm very happy to announce that we have just kicked off this thematic group, in fact, just last week, and we will be continuing it in the coming period. So future foresight for cities is a structured, long-term, and systematic approach to exploring, anticipating, and to a certain extent, preparing for the challenges and opportunities that will shape the urban environment, decades into the future even. Hence, I would say that this thematic group moves beyond the traditional short-term planning by recognizing that the future is a space of multiple plausible possibilities. We're not going to predict the future in this thematic group, but we're going to look at plausible scenarios, plausible alternatives or possibilities that may arise, shaped by complex and often unpredictable influences for cities. So I'm actually very excited to work with a long list of actually experts in this. And I would like to invite also the participants who are with us today to engage and also to participate in this thematic group which we have just launched. And it aims to anticipate those and prepare the cities for these alternatives. So ultimately, future foresight transforms urban governance from a reactive problem-solving model to a proactive, adaptive approach for the future, for shaping a desirable urban future, in fact. Next slide, please. It's a bit early, but we kind of have had a discussion on the way forward. And I can say that in terms of activities, we will analyze existing future foresight methods. And we intend to create a framework for future foresight for cities and also hopefully help them institutionalize this future foresight capability in their own context. So these are our general aims. And then we will probably conclude with a call to action for cities. And in most of my actually thematic groups and working groups, I try to emphasize case studies as well. So we're going to most likely have a guide for cities, but also illustrate some case studies, augmented or complemented with some case studies that are real-world applications of future foresight that exist today in different cities. And some of them were even mentioned during our meeting actually by the participants. So I'm excited that we're going to have real case studies as well. Maybe in the future, we had this discussion, it's early, but I'm also excited to mention that we might also develop a maturity assessment toolkit for cities so they can identify where they are with respect to future foresight and how they can evolve over time to climb this ladder of maturity almost when it comes to future foresight. So with that, I end my presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Sokullu.
Thank you very much to you for these very important insights. And we see that there has been a truly very hectic agenda and very, very many great initiatives that you have started. And I want to thank on behalf of course, My institution, which has the privilege of being a member of U4SSC, and there's a great room, I understand that, for us to think more on how to develop with new partnerships and contribute to the smart and sustainable cities, which is definitely people-centered. So dear panelists, dear colleagues, I want to take the privilege of moderating and chairing this panel. If you let me, I want to ask 2 questions to our panelist speakers, and I'll follow now the reverse order. And dear Dr. Giray, well, we heard a lot about the relevance and importance of AI-driven metrics, measurements, and also how to integrate into our works for people-centered smart cities. Apparently, there's going to be more discussions on the AI. And yet, working at UNITAR, and as our mandate is a capacity development across the world on different initiatives and to make it more a sustainable, equitable world, I would really like to learn about how AI can empower smarter, more inclusive cities if people are not equipped with the required knowledge of adapting themselves, their works, and their, of course, know-how into this smart and sustainable cities. So, considering this digital divide across different cities and regions in the world, how can you think global training initiatives can help ensure that AI for smart cities benefit all communities equally and equitably? I would like to know if there are any metrics that have already been developed by these great colleagues that you've mentioned already. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sokol. You're actually highlighting a very important and critical area. The way even we look at AI today, I would say, is a bit different from other frontier or emerging technologies. I myself have been humbly involved maybe with, almost from the beginning of internet in the last 2 or 3 decades with so many technologies. But if we look at AI, it's really, it has a more strategic nature. It's really, its capabilities and the things that it enables us are really beyond some other technologies that we have used in the past. It's not just giving us a portion of the story, but the innovation potential that we can achieve with AI is really enormous. It can touch almost any and every aspect of the way we do things in the public sector, in the city governments, in local administrations, all the way from literally developing strategy to making policies, to implementing services. It touches upon so many things. The reason that I'm highlighting these is if you look at the people side of the picture, it's not just a certain capability, it's not just a certain division in city administrations, but it's just about everything. And we are barely, I think, scratching the surface today when it comes to these issues globally. I know certain cities are ahead, they are experimenting, they are exploring, but it's going to impact almost every aspect of city governance and management in general. In the thematic group, we're looking at it maybe from an autonomous perspective, from looking at these enablers like agentic AI, measuring KPIs in a non-invasive, non-interventional manner, for example. These are all frontier aspects of AI. But when it comes to people, I think we have gaps in the skills. I don't think this is news to any of our participants here. We're going to have to take maybe a comprehensive approach and boost the skills, not only in the public sector, but also in the private sector and also at the societal level. Now, are there certain KPIs? I see quite a few KPIs when it comes to skills. But just putting a KPI does not necessarily solve the story for us. For example, I've seen KPIs like at the societal level, percentage of people equipped with AI skills. The minute when you go to open the can of AI skills, it's a very deep, almost topic by itself. At what level we can claim that people in the society are equipped with AI skills? Are we talking about the producer side of AI? Are we talking about the consumer side of AI? These are, I think, deep questions that need to be answered. We don't have a working group at the moment for it, but it's an area that we can potentially explore in U4SSC, actually, either under the AI thematic group or even a separate group under people centricity, digital transformation. So I think we're at the initial stage, at the infancy stage when it comes to it. I see a lot of training programs being done, but the right KPIs, the right level of detail, I think those are areas which still require some more work. Thank you. I know I could not directly answer the question, in the most complete way, but I think it's an area that all of us have to look at and explore together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a little bit provocative question. We don't have the answers yet, but that was very valuable to hear your insights on this. So I would like to call upon the last point that you made. I think there is more need for training and capacity development for all sectors of the communities in every part of the world. So I just take this as an invitation, your idea on the working group, and we will be very happy to support this through our training and research capacities. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to go very quickly to Sumaya. Thank you very much, Sumaya, that your presentation has already been extremely expensive, but maybe if you can kindly share your views about the custodians. Who are the real stakeholders when you mention the core principles? We set these principles already, and it's a great conceptual framework, but we are in an age where we have to really take the actions, and we need more ownership. So what would be your insights on, in terms of the key principles that you set for different working groups? Who are the targeted stakeholders that will implement or take the leadership? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Actually, it's a good point that you've just, Dr. Kancherai, mentioned concerning the capability, developing the knowledge and the capabilities and the competencies of cities, because it's one of the elements that went out when we have worked on the global assessment for responsible AI in cities with UN Habitat. And the working group that we are working on U4SSC, it's one of the ideas that came out of this global assessment of responsible AI in cities. Actually, there is I mean, we cannot hide it. There is a huge hype around AI, and cities, without even assessing what they need or what they know about or what they are able to do on AI, they want to jump in this train and adopt AI and take AI. And often it's very important to remind that of the principles and of the values that each one of the city, and one of the I will say one of the core elements that is important is really to focus on the needs. What are the needs of the cities? We looked at the cities at a global level. Not all the cities have the means, the capabilities, the competencies, the knowledge to adopt AI. So for some of them, the resources are extremely rare. And it's very important to direct those resources to the most important elements for the people. And people are the key element, the central stakeholders on adopting AI. So if it will not answer or respond to the direct needs of the people, it should not be adopted. And this should be an option as well for the cities to know that it's not mandatory to adopt AI if it's not answering to their priorities, to their needs. So this is one of the main core principle. The second core principle that we are when we talk or interview the cities is really to look into the concerns of the cities, because when we interviewed the cities, lots of them are concerns about the human dimension of adopting AI, the risk of discrimination, of bias, and etc., and the incompatibility of this technology with some of these dimensions. So this is very important that to remind them to be people-centered. And when they are working with technology and private sector tech companies, to really focus on the people and the need of the cities before buying or adopting a technology that is not probably won't answer to the priorities and the needs of the people. And then there is multiple dimensions, so that we talked about earlier, which is the responsible AI that is encompassing a real common ground between all the cities related to human rights, related to transparency, related to explainability of the technology, related to the accountability. Many dimensions are related to that. And then there is each one of the cities have its own specificities, its contextual specificities, and it's very important that they integrate all these dimensions and principles to adapt them at the reality of their context and not just import some technology and force them into their context. So whether it's for fairness, it has to be adapted. They don't face the same type of issue related and concerns related to fairness. It can be related to the justice, it can be related to the equality, it can be related to the discrimination. Inclusiveness is also an important dimension, and inclusiveness has to be adapted as well, whether it's for accessibility, participation. They are different from one city to another cities. And the sustainability, which is taking into consideration the environmental cost of using AI as well, in terms of energy, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of water consumption. So those are dimensions that often they are not, the stakeholders are not aware of beyond the hype and the willingness to be part of this adopting the AI technology. So those are some dimensions. The stakeholders are very wide, and one of the means that we often propose is the co-design and co-creation, public participation. When cities are adopting AI, is to look into their ecosystem, who are the key participants, the key stakeholders, and to involve them into participating to the adoption of AI. And this way they can have a multi-perspective on the AI. So just to answer more directly to your question.
Thank you very much. That was very direct, and I understand that there has been achieved so many things, and there is a great room for us to collaborate more and continue working together more. And I invite all the participants to this session. Before closing, I want to thank, first of all, our distinguished speakers who shared their insights and, of course, roadmaps to all of us. And we would like to continue this dialogue and work on this field. I want to thank the organizers as well. I know that we are going to start the webinar right now, but it was my privilege to moderate this session. And please stay tuned. Please join the newsletters. And now let's move to the webinar. And with that, I now pass the floor to Yining. Yining, please.
Thank you, everyone, for guiding such an informative session, and our heartfelt thanks to the panelists for sharing their expertise and the latest updates from the thematic groups. We will now transition to the Digital Transformation webinar on empowering lives through people-centered smart cities, jointly hosted by ITU and UN Habitat. The U4SSC meeting will continue following the webinar with the same link. I'm pleased to hand over to Mr. Graham Alabaster, head of the Geneva office at UN Habitat, who will serve as the master of ceremonies and the moderator for this special webinar. Graham, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Delighted to have you here. And thank you for joining us at this special seminar that we're organizing today. We're happy to share that as part of the World Habitat Day celebrations, UN Habitat and ITU are jointly hosting this webinar to highlight the importance of people-centered approaches in shaping smarter, more inclusive urban futures. I'm Graham Alabaster. I'm the head of the Geneva Office of UN Habitat, and I'm going to be your Master of Ceremonies moderator for today's seminar. Today we're going to come together to explore a vital question. How can digital innovation make our cities more inclusive, resilient, and people-centered? Through this session, we'll discover how emerging technologies, from participative data platforms to AI-driven urban services, can strengthen local governance, can bridge the digital divide, and build trust between institutions and communities. Together, we'll look at how smart, inclusive, and transparent digital tools can help create cities that work for everyone. But before we begin, I just want to share a few housekeeping rules. First, all the questions from the audience will be taken during the Q&A at the end of each session. Additionally, this webinar is going to be recorded, and the recording will be made available on the event website after the forum. But to officially kick off today's webinar, we're delighted to hear from our distinguished speakers who have kindly shared their video messages with us through recorded statements. So the first one, I'd like to invite the Secretary General of ITU, Doreen Bogdan-Martin, for her recorded statement. Doreen, over to you.
This World Cities Day is about how technologies like artificial intelligence can help shape cities with people at the center. Cities that harness innovation to improve daily life, strengthen resilience, and protect our planet. At ITU, we are determined to make sure digital transformation serves humanity first. Part of that mission involves making connectivity meaningful for everyone in every community, urban or rural, big or small. Through joint initiatives like United for Smart Sustainable Cities, coordinated by ITU and UN Habitat, and supported by more than 20 UN partners, we help cities and governments turn digital potential into progress. By leveraging data and AI to drive sustainable, inclusive, and human-centered growth. ITU and UN Habitat recently signed a memorandum of understanding to strengthen our collaboration in building a better digital future for every city. Because a truly smart city is not measured by its devices or data, but by empowered citizens, strengthened trust, and by safe and resilient communities where everyone can thrive. On World Cities Day 2025, let's keep building together towards a smart and sustainable digital future that leaves no one behind.
Thank you, Secretary General Doreen Bogdan-Martin, for your inspiring remarks and continued leadership. It's now my pleasure to welcome my boss through a recorded message, Ms. Anna Claudia Rosbach, the Undersecretary General and Executive Director of UN Habitat. Ms. Rosbach, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all joining us today. Welcome to the global observance of the World Cities Day celebration, which is hosted by Bogota today. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this important dialogue on empowering lives through people-centered smart cities. Today's theme resonates deeply with UN Habitat's mission to promote sustainable urban development that places people at the heart of innovation. I am especially pleased to highlight our strengthened partnership with the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, marked by the signing of a new Memorandum of Understanding earlier this month, which reflects our shared vision for responsible, inclusive, and people-centered digital transformation in cities. Together, we are advancing smart urban innovation that serves communities, not just technologies. These dialogues are more relevant than ever. As cities grow and evolve, digital solutions must be designed to enhance equity, sustainability, and resilience. At UN Habitat, our new strategic plan for 2026-2029 reflects this urgency by focusing on the foundations of what makes a thriving city: the provision of adequate and affordable housing, and access to land and quality basic services for all. We must leverage technology fully to address the greatest challenges of our time. The global housing crisis affecting almost 3 billion people, with more than 1 billion people living in informal settlements and slums, is one such. Digital technology offers real solutions to advance action, especially through enhanced data and analytics for decision making. Already across the globe, cities of all sizes are demonstrating strong leadership, showing that digital transformation can be both ambitious and inclusive, and can deliver more accessible and responsive services. Peer-to-peer exchange remains a powerful catalyst for progress. By sharing knowledge and experiences, cities can inspire one another, tackle shared challenges more effectively, accelerate their transitions, and bring effective solutions to a wider scale. The key message I want to bring to you today is this: the opportunities before us are vast. Digital technologies offer immense potential to redesign the way cities work and how residents are engaged in city building and decision making. Similarly, cities can now, more than ever, bring together a range of partners to build truly people-centered solutions in line with climate goals. This challenge relates both to existing urban areas and those yet to be built. But to truly unlock them, we need bold innovation and creative partnerships across sectors, disciplines, and geographies, and we need clear and responsible frameworks. Let us approach today's dialogue with a strong sense of purpose: to promote cities that are inclusive, resilient, and sustainable, and to shape a better future for all together. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Executive Director. And finally, we will hear from Ms. Michelle Giles McDonald, the Executive Director at UNITAR.
Distinguished colleagues, partners, and friends, today we celebrate our cities. It is an honor to join you on this World Cities Day, and I thank the International Telecommunication Union and UN Habitat for bringing us together to explore how, through smart city initiatives, we can better serve the people who live in our cities and urban areas. Cities are the beating hearts of our societies. They're engines of growth and hubs for culture and innovation, and they are where action most directly meets people to make sustainable development real in their daily lives. For these reasons and more, cities are magnets, attracting people seeking opportunity, creativity, trade and commerce, efficient infrastructure, and services. More than half of humanity now live in urban areas, a share that is projected to grow to 70% by 2050. We therefore need to take steps now to get our cities and urban areas ready for this phenomenal growth, ensuring that growth is sustainable, technology-enabled, inclusive, and equitable. We need smart cities that are people-centered. Yet, UN Habitat's World Smart Cities Outlook 2024 tells us less than half of all countries have national smart city strategies, and many municipalities don't yet have integrated data systems to inform their planning, drive their programs and services, and improve transparency and trust. As cities plan for the future, digital infrastructure and data governance must advance together, and people and communities need to be engaged. Technology alone does not make a city smart. People do. When empowered through data, science, and access to opportunities, including opportunities for training and learning, people drive equitable and sustainable transformation. At UNITAR, capacity development is our mission. Through our CIFO Global Network, a network of partnerships with local authorities and academia, we trained over 153,000 participants in 2024 on urban planning, smart cities, data collection, and citizen engagement. In this regard, we welcome the ITU Smart Sustainable Cities Guidelines 2025 as an assistive tool in shaping the journey towards smart, people-centered cities. UNITAR initiatives are practical and tailored to meet cities' specific needs. CIFAL Shanghai, for example, has shared lessons and experiences of how ICT and people-centered innovation are transforming megacities. Our Cities and Climate Change and Smart for All e-learning courses equip decision makers to drive inclusive, low-carbon development. The UNITAR Global Water Academy supports local governments in improving water, sanitation, and hygiene systems, and in advancing data-driven water security and climate resilience in cities and urban areas. UNOSAT, or UN Satellite Center, delivers geospatial analyses and training to strengthen urban resilience and evidence-based decision-making. UNITAR will continue to work alongside our UN and other partners through the United for Smart Sustainable Cities and other mechanisms to scale up our support through executive and professional skill building and other learning activities, bridging global and local action and empowering every city to become a hub of sustainability, resilience, and social equity. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Michelle, for your very thoughtful message and commitment to advancing today's agenda. So without further delay, let's move to our session from connected to empowered, people at the heart of smart urban innovation. In this session, we will explore how smart city initiatives can go beyond infrastructure and efficiency to serve the people who live in them. Our speakers will show how, by focusing on inclusion, participation, and trust, digital tools and data can enhance the quality of life, promote social equity, and better respond to the needs of diverse communities. So let us welcome our panelists. First off, Orkan Jerry, the chair for U4SSC, Teppo Ratanen, the Executive Director of Economic Policy and Competitiveness and Innovation in the city of Tampere in Finland, Ms. Monica Zurita Vivero, from the Digital Government Director of the city of Quito in Ecuador, and finally, Sarah Watson, the Project Coordinator of the Human Settlements Unit of eThekwini Municipality in South Africa. So each of our speakers will share their insights, after which we will open the floor for an interactive Q&A. So let's begin with our first speaker, Orkan Jerry, Chair for the United for Smart and Sustainable Cities Initiative. Orkan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Graham. I will kindly ask the Secretariat to put up the slides. Excellent. Once again, thank you very much, Graham. Distinguished participants and colleagues, it's a great honor actually to address you today. And I would like to thank the organizers of this webinar, UN Habitat and ITU, for inviting me. And I also wish, in fact, all of you a wonderful World Cities Day. I just want to share some insights, as Graham mentioned, on how digital transformation can place people at the center of city development, fostering inclusive, resilient, and connected urban environments. Next slide, please. So if you think about cities today, cities are almost like the living laboratories of human innovation. They are where our ideas, culture, and technology intersect to shape the future of society. But it's also very critical to recognize that technology does not alone make a city smart. A city's true intelligence lies in how it uses these innovations to empower, to connect, and to uplift its people. So as urban leaders, I think we should remember that our ultimate measure of success is not the number of sensors installed or data streams analyzed, but whether residents experience improved well-being, greater opportunity, and meaningful participation in urban life. Next slide, please. So digital transformation, we've been talking about it in the previous session also. It's not merely a technological journey, it's a societal one. A people-centered approach ensures that innovation, digital transformation innovation, translates into dignity, into opportunity, and also well-being for all residents, rather than merely enhancing operational efficiency or infrastructure in the cities. In other words, it requires policymakers, technologists, community leaders to align their strategies with the needs and aspirations of citizens. Next slide, please. Cities are today guided by global frameworks that emphasize inclusion, sustainability, and human rights. Initiatives such as the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the New Urban Agenda, they provide essential guidance on creating equitable, smart, and resilient cities. They also reinforce the need for urban development to reflect societal values and priorities. Similarly, Resolution 98 of the WTSA further highlights the role of frontier technologies like IoT, digital twins, smart city platforms in fostering sustainable urban growth. As city leaders, our mandate is to ensure that digital transformation aligns with these global commitments that were made either at the national level or were cascaded down to local levels also. Next slide, please. We've heard about the U4SSC initiative. I'm not going to go to too much detail, but I'm very happy that it's supported by 20 UN agencies, and our work is conducted around thematic groups. So we reviewed actually several thematic groups in the previous session, and it's a platform essentially that emphasizes innovation, governance, and the responsible application of technologies and digital transformation to create tangible benefits for urban communities, and it also helps the cities to implement the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide, please. I'm happy today, in fact, very pleased to announce and launch one of our key deliverables in U4SSC within the thematic group called Enabling People-Centered Cities Through Digital Transformation. The working group has already completed its work, and the deliverable that we are launching today is a framework for enabling people-centered cities through digital transformation. And we're actually launching it in this webinar, and it will be available for everyone interested later on to download online from the U4SSC site. The framework provides cities with a structured, people-first approach for digital transformation. Essentially, we aim to put people at the center of digital transformation. Next slide, please. And the framework is built on 5 pillars: the vision and strategy, organizational transformation, digital infrastructure and IoT, multi-level governance, and last but not the least, financing and funding. So together, these pillars create a comprehensive guide for cities seeking to align technology with human needs. The framework that we have developed emphasizes that successful transformation is not just about deploying technology, but it's about embedding human-centered principles into every aspect of urban governance. I'm just going to take you briefly through those pillars. Next slide, please. If you look at the first one, the vision and the strategy, we're saying that the city's digital vision should be shaped by the aspirations and needs of its people, its citizens. Engaging citizens in defining priorities ensures that digital initiatives reflect community values and directly enhance quality of life. So a clear, people-centered vision sets the foundation for resilient and inclusive urban development. And it also, inclusive planning in general requires a continuous understanding of inhabitant and visitor needs. This is not just a one-time thing. So by prioritizing inclusion, engagement, and impact, cities can develop a digital transformation roadmap that aligns technology investments with human-centered objectives. Next slide, please. The second pillar is the organizational transformation. We realize that digital transformation demands not only technology solutions, but also organizational evolution and the related culture that comes with it. So public institutions in cities should foster a culture that's open, innovative, and empathetic to its citizens' needs, equipping their staff with the skills necessary to implement and manage change towards people centricity effectively. And building a people-centric culture involves empowering public servants to make decisions that prioritize actually inhabitants' needs and aspirations. So encouraging autonomy, for example, innovation and accountability helps in achieving people centricity. Next slide, please. The third pillar is the digital infrastructure and IoT. Universal access to digital infrastructure is basically a prerequisite for an inclusive city. No resident should be left offline today, and digital literacy should be cultivated across all generations to ensure equitable participation. IoT and other technologies should be designed to serve human needs, addressing challenges such as clean air, mobility, energy efficiency, public safety, and user-centric design and resilience are crucial to ensure that these systems provide reliable and meaningful benefits at the city level. Next slide, please. The fourth pillar in our framework is about multi-level governance. The effective digital transformation requires collaboration and coordination also across all levels of government, as well as active participation from residents and stakeholders. So the multi-level governance ensures policies are aligned, resources are optimized, and initiatives are inclusive. Inhabitant participation is critical to building trust and legitimacy, which is very important in digital transformation. By demonstrating equity, openness, and responsiveness, cities can foster actually confidence among its residents and ensure that digital transformation delivers tangible social benefits. Next slide, please. The last pillar that we have is the financing and funding. Digital transformation requires strategic and sustainable investments, so funding decisions should be guided by the citizen priorities, ensuring that every investment delivers meaningful benefits for urban communities. Public-private partnerships, for example, provide innovative opportunities to leverage resources and expertise while enhancing accountability and efficiency for cities. Cities should ensure that funding strategies are designed not only for short-term implementation, but that digital transformation investment translates into lasting improvements for the city residents. Next slide, please. So while we establish this, let's say, people-centered approach to digital transformation, it's also very important to make sure that we measure the results, the outcomes, the outputs, and also the impact that comes out from the digital transformation initiatives. Already the U4SSC KPIs and also the UN Habitat Global Urban Monitoring Framework help cities assess their progress in smart, sustainable cities. So we recommend actually cities to use these KPIs, measurement mechanisms, impact assessment methods to regularly monitor their progress and adjust their strategies, incorporate feedback where needed from the citizens, and continuously improve their programs so that leaders can ensure digital transformation is both effective and aligned with the needs of residents. Next slide, please. We will include actually some partners from U4SSC partners. We work with several cities, as you know, across the globe. Today, cities are demonstrating innovative approaches to people-centered digital transformation. And these examples illustrate the diverse ways cities can apply technology, in fact, and more specifically, digital technologies to address local challenges and also enhance the citizen well-being. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, I can say that the framework that we have developed in the U4SSC, the central principle of it is that digital transformation must always serve people first. Technology is an enabler, but the human experience must define the measure of success. Cities that prioritize inclusion, empowerment, and engagement achieve greater resilience and also social cohesion, which is very important, in fact, at the societal level. And collaboration across sectors and borders amplifies the benefits of innovation. By working together, cities can share knowledge also. They can adopt best practices. They can accelerate their implementations. They can implement solutions that are both effective and equitable. And people-centric matrix ensure that digital transformation delivers meaningful and lasting benefits for the cities. Next slide, please. As a call to action for mayors, I would humbly actually urge all mayors and city leaders to adopt a people-centered digital roadmap aligned with the U4SSC framework. Investing in local skills and partnerships is critical, Empowered public servants and engaged communities create ownership and accountability, ensuring that the digital transformation initiatives are sustainable and also responsive to evolving needs. Finally, I encourage cities to join the U4SSC network. By sharing experiences and learning from peers, cities can collectively advance people-centered urban development, leadership, not technology alone, and leadership, but not technology alone transforms cities. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, I can say that digital technologies offer unprecedented opportunities, but it's our leadership, vision, and commitment to people that determine their impact.
Okay, thank you very much, Okan. I assume that you finished. Thank you very much for sharing the experience of U4SSC. I'd now like to invite our second speaker from the city of Tampere, Teppo Rantanen, the Executive Director of the Economic Policy, Competitiveness and Innovation. Over to you, please, Teppo.
Thank you, Graham, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Greetings from Tampere, which is, as the slide says, the Finland's most attractive city. We are the most attractive city in the happiest country in the world, so we're in a pretty good place to do all sort of things with our citizens, which again is the most important thing for us when we go forward. Next slide, please. We have been working on the whole topic of Cityverse ever since we put our metaverse strategy back in when Cityverse was not yet the term used a lot, and our focus has always been on our people. So technology is important for us when we do all these changes that is happening with the technologies is make it possible, but the focus has always been the well-being and the everyday life of our citizens, that it should be improved. So we have been working together with a number of other cities around the world, a number of other initiatives, including EU initiatives, and now with the ITU and U4SSC initiatives on things around the Cityverse, and try and always keep the focus on the people. So if you look at what we have been doing, what kind of practical examples we have involving our citizens into what we do. We've been doing extensive 3D modeling of our city and the environment there, also the natural environment, and always including our citizens to take part of that, and eventually bringing the digital twins of both built environment and non-built environment into the access of our citizens, and evolving at most the way that we have the people to be able to do and give their say on those things. We have been inventing different type of digital twins, including digital twins on individuals. So, for example, we've been doing digital twins on our unemployed people to help them to find jobs. So when the digital twin of a person is then matched into the jobs in a totally new way, putting it into the different elements of the skills of the people and interest of the people, and the potential in the jobs, we've been able to find new jobs with the help of technology. We've been developing different type of social and physical environments where we bring the extended reality to the question. So we have bringing in the culture, bringing in the arts, bringing in the sports, bringing also all kinds of events into this world of we bring those elements of virtual life into the life of the reality. So merging those two things into immersive realities of the people. We have been using different tools to help our people to navigate, different tools to estimate where the people flows are going in the city for our citizens, but also for the business owners of our restaurants and cafes and shops. We have been putting together an extensive IoT platform where we see that the guidelines for the people of getting the information of all the cameras, all the sensors, all the data, bringing that all together, again, to help the people to be living a better lives. So we are putting the digital environment into practice in the lives of our people, and we are really happy about that and proud about that. And we are working on looking at different frameworks, helping to do it, including we already put in place 3 years ago ethical platform on use of AI. We have been putting together a data strategies and data visions, digital visions for the city, and the digital roadmap where we take these into consideration again from the people aspect. So that is something we do with our partners, with our friends across the world in different cities. So that is how we see the life working for us. The technology is there in the background, but we always see that it is important for our people to make it forward. Next slide, please. So we've been working now together with the ITU on the initiative on virtual worlds and AI, discovering the cityverse, where we are involved in putting together a group of experts working on topics which have a huge interest for us and the other cities working on this initiative. And we try to always bring the city aspect to it. So we try to bring that, what does it mean in practice? How we bring this into very practical form of doing things. And that is one of the core things that we can bring into this initiative. You can see a lot of founding partners who have been able to make it happen, ITU, U4SSC, and also with the help of different parties that we bring this together. The next slide, please. In this initiative, we have three pillars of action, three key pillars of action. We actually bring the virtual worlds to life. And we have looked into elements of like what the strategic guidance, how the city should actually be embarking this road. What are the sort of a key roadmaps? What are the playbooks for that? What does it mean from digital inclusion, accessibility point of view, scaling framework point of view, and also evaluation and assessment, how it can then be evaluated and assessed whether we have been successful what we do. We do it through the lens of emerging technologies. We definitely look at what sort of use cases we have around the world identified, and we could be sharing that. Of course, security and trust is utmost importance right now. But I wouldn't say anything less than the interoperability, because that is also one of those key elements going forward, that we need to be demanding the interoperability for different players. We don't want to be vendor locked in anywhere, but we want to be open to use all technologies, but they have to be interoperable and they have to follow the guidelines, the ethical guidelines, and the other regulatory guidelines we want to have it. And of course, we need a sandbox experience facility to make this happen so we can test and try, and that has been working fantastically well in different cities, including the city of Valencia, which has been very forward-looking in the sandbox environment. And of course, then sharing this together in the Cityverse assemblies. There's the first Cityverse assembly next Monday in Valencia, looking at the different challenges, alliances we're building together. We try to build the awareness, because if it's only we sharing it amongst those who are interested in it, that's not enough. We need to be sharing that and make the awareness throughout the global world. And with the help of Virtual World Toolkit and the annual training and talent grants program, we hope to be able to bring that to life. And I think this is something which we all share the passion to do and move forward with this one. And we as the City of Tampere are happy to be part of it. So that's a very brief overview of what we have done, and then over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Teppo, for this enlightening presentation on Finland's implementation of DPI in its cities. Now we'd like to turn our attention to Monica Zurita-Vivero from the Digital Government Director at the City of Quito in Ecuador. Monica, over to you.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for all of us. This is a pleasure for Quito and to me to be here talking about a little about our resources as smart and sustainable cities. Next slide, please. So this is our city profile. We are around 2.8 million of inhabitants living in 4.2 thousand square kilometers and another resource related to our city. Next slide, please. For Quito, a smart and sustainable city is definitely an innovative city that uses information and telecommunication technologies and other means. And when we talk about other means, we definitely said it's public policy, it means process, and it means planning in order to improve quality of life, efficiency on urban operations, and ensure that the needs of present and future generations are fulfilled. And And when we talk about our developing plan that we update, I think last year, we have these three main objectives, which are citizens, city, and management. And talking about citizens, it's aligning to improve quality of life. What the second one that is related to city and sustainability, which talks about ensuring the needs for present and future generations. While the third one, that it's management, talks about how to improve efficiency and operations and services to our cities or to our citizens. And these urban developing plans include 63 indicators, and also 33 of them are aligned to International Telecommunication Union recommendations. Next slide, please. So since last year, Quito is a member of the United for Smart and Sustainable Cities initiative that allow us to implement our key performance indicators under recommendation 4903. And this is our results, and this is our way that provide us a roadmap, and they show our results. And talking briefly, we can verify 88 or 91 KPI, and in data points terms, we have 107 of 112 data points. And also, 42 of these data points are in level 4, which means that we almost reached the target. And in the other level, we have 32 indicators that there are in level 1. That means we must keeping working on it. Next slide, please. So also Quito is the first city in my country, Ecuador, verified as smart and sustainable cities. And United for Smart and Sustainable Cities provide us some takeaways. The first one is the strong ICT infrastructure that supports our innovation and another projects. While also they identify that we make improvements in air quality and waste management, and that our cultural initiatives make us vibrant cities. And for also this verification also help us to identify our readiness about urban planning and risk management. Also help us to comparing with another cities and identifying these opportunities and threats, and order to enhance our planning and make a better way to identify the best investments. And finally, they improve our international projection. Next slide, please. And when we decide to share these good ideas with our citizens, we realize that maybe not many of us can imagine that we are living, in fact, in a smart, sustainable city. That's why we began with this campaign that in Spanish could be Vives en una ciudad inteligente cuando, and living in a smart and sustainable city when. And when we find in order to some ideas, such as when you connect to free hotspots and you secure internet connection, or where you use public transportation and use digital payment, when you enjoy green and cultural space, or use tap water with no worries. And also as a city, when we provide secure space for the elderly and children, or when you can get a free ticket for museum by free, and these kind of ideas in order to that people can realize that they are living and we are living in a smart, sustainable city. Next slide, please. And if you are interested in having more information about our path as being a smart, sustainable city, here you have our webpage and also initiative international place. Thank you.
Wonderful. Monica, thank you so much for the valuable contribution to this session and sharing Quito's journey in leveraging digital public infrastructure to build a more inclusive and innovative city. The next presenter is Sarah Watson, the project coordinator at the Human Settlements Unit of eThekwini Municipality in South Africa. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Greetings, everyone. So privileged to be here on this platform, speaking with people who really have a very high-level understanding. I'm here just to give you some case studies of some of the work that we've done in eThekwini. eThekwini Municipality is the structure that governs the city of Durban, which is on the east coast in South Africa. If we can go to the next slide. The work that I do is mainly around informal settlements and improving living conditions in informal settlements. The scale of the challenge in eThekwini is quite enormous. Almost a third of our households in eThekwini live in informal settlements. Our latest count is 330,000 households, out of a total household count of about 1.5 million. As you can see in the pictures, the informal settlements are extremely dense, and the living conditions are generally pretty awful, with very limited access to basic essential services and to quality shelter, and no tenure security in place. Very vulnerable to climate-related disaster. And of course, fires spread rapidly through these kinds of settlements. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This just shows you a range of the different technology and data collection projects that we've run over the last 5 years. The first one is the Building Establishment Automated Mapper. This was built for us by UNITAC, the United Nations Innovation and Technology Accelerator for Cities. And this is an algorithm which can pick up informal structures from aerial photography. It can map and count informal structures across the city in 72 hours, which is incredible considering that our land monitors are very limited and often how often they can visit the settlements. We have a team of land monitors, but there is no way that we can conduct a count of households in 72 hours without using some technologies like this. Another project we've done is an informal settlement information management solution. We found that across the city, the different departments were using different prioritization mechanisms, different data sources to plan their programs in informal settlements. And this was just an attempt to bring all the data together into one hub, so we are all using the same version of the truth in planning our projects and programs. The Kobo tool is one of the case studies I'm going to give you today. Vulnerability assessments is an ongoing process. We have done climate predictions matched with on-the-ground population demographics, information about infrastructure vulnerabilities, floodplains, the stability of soils, and we bring all of those together to identify projects in the most vulnerable communities. We've even tried putting smoke detectors into some of the informal settlement shacks, but we found that there again, it's a technology that doesn't necessarily work within the context because the shacks are so small that anybody cooking or even lighting a cigarette inside the shack even outside is going to set off the smoke alarm. The flood early warning system is another one that I'm going to go into in a little bit of detail. And we've also considered the use of technology in providing tenure security. But what was interesting to me about that case study was as we advanced, we thought that blockchain technology, for example, could provide a technological but low-cost solution for providing tenure security on a less formal basis. So acknowledging where people are residing in the city without going to a full formalization, township layout, establishment, title deed process. But what we found is that the critical issues around tenure security are not actually technical, they're social in nature. Next slide, please. So to go into one of the programs that we used during COVID, we couldn't have our feet on the ground as much as we usually do as a local government entity. And we knew that there were critical shortages of services, in particular water and sanitation, waste collection, and also electricity during this time. Obviously, water and sanitation were really key to minimizing the spread of COVID. So we built a tool that could be used on very simple cell phones, where people inside informal settlements could report faults in basic services. And this, their reporting would go across to a centralized database. And in that database, it kept a list of all the reference numbers that were submitted to the municipality. It provided the locations for the faults, and it just brought a mechanism for people living in informal settlements to really report on their struggles and their access to services during this time. Next slide, please. So the platform was built on open source data collection software, the Kobo Toolbox, and community monitors were able to capture the service information. As I say, this was linked to a database where all of the reference numbers could be tagged and the location, and this was also integrated into the citywide fault reporting system, which usually does not accommodate people in informal settlements because it relies on addresses and other cadastral information that people in informal settlements don't necessarily have. So in order to fit this technology to the situation on the ground, we had to make sure that the reporting process could be offline, and that when people next are able to access Wi-Fi, that data then can be downloaded to the bigger system. We also wanted to create capacity for GPS tagging, timestamps for verification, and a very simple user interface for non-technical users. Next slide, please. We found that that link between the municipal system and the community-based reporting really improved the ability on both sides for action to be taken in a very effective and efficient manner. It improved the relationships between the communities and the municipality. It started to build some trust that when people reported their issues, they could actually follow up, they could trace the response with the reference number, and it actually provided for a higher level of service in the communities because they were able to reach out. Some of the challenges that we had involved the technical support post the COVID project. We were very pleased to work with an external organization, the Open Cities Lab, to develop the Kobo tool. And once their contract with us was done, we as the municipality didn't actually have the technical know-how to continue with the system. So that was a limitation. But some of the key learnings are that we really need to build digital literacy within the local government teams, as well as within communities. We need to establish more formal data governance processes and improve interdepartmental coordination. But also that community-led reporting can really lead to improve inclusivity and legitimacy beyond just improving service delivery. Next slide, please. In 2022, we had enormous floods in eThekwini. We had around 6,000 houses affected by the floods. 450 people died. It really was a very widespread and damaging flood. As you'll see in this picture, this informal settlement is known as Quarry Road, and it's built right on the banks of the Palmeet River. The flood really exposed, not only affected houses, but exposed the city's infrastructure as well. Our sanitation systems were very badly affected. And beyond the physical issues, the floods also deepened existing social inequalities as marginalized communities bore the brunt of displacement and also of post-disaster support. Whereas those of us who live in private homes are insured, people who live in informal settlements can really lose everything when an event like this happens. Next slide, please. Even before 2022, we had put in place something called the Flood Early Warning System. There are around 150, I believe, gadgets attached to the system, from smart rainwater meters, to hydraulic force meters, flow monitors in rivers. And this is combined with weather forecasts and hydraulic and coastal models to identify particularly vulnerable areas and to be able to give people at least a couple of hours warning before a flood could hit them. So this is a very catchment management based system where a lot of the monitors will be upriver, and you'll find a lot of the informal settlements are better located closer to the coast. And so the idea of this system is that information is gathered from all the gadgets and the models. This is then communicated through a city team to the city's communication system. They issue warnings via WhatsApp. But what was really good in the 2022 storm is we saw the impact of the relationship building that some of our partners had with people in informal settlements. If you can go to the next slide, please. This is just the pictures of Quarry Road before and after the storm. We estimate that around 200 households, 200 homes were washed into the river during this event, but actually not a single life was lost. And this is because between the municipality, a very prominent academic who has very grassroots practice, and her relationship with this community, she had a dedicated communication line. So she received the warnings from the city, and she was able to tell people, the development committee inside this informal settlement, that the flood was coming, and the first 3 lines of people evacuated. And so although there were, as I say, more than around 200 structures lost, not a single life was lost. And I think really the value of this shows that it's not just the technology, but it's the relationships and the communication that supports the technology that really makes this technology useful to people. There was a lot of feeling before this event that those weather warnings were not for people in informal settlements because they were issued by the city, and people who live in informal settlements generally feel quite excluded. They tended to disregard those warnings. But I think the 2022 experience has really led to that building of trust and an understanding of what those weather warnings are about. Thanks very much. That's my 2 case studies for today.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah, and thank you to all of the presenters for some very good, wide-ranging presentations. If you have any burning questions, please put them into the chat. We are running a bit late on time, so I'm proposing now to ask each of the panelists 1 question. I'd be grateful if you could respond quite rapidly in 1 minute or so, and then we will move into the closing. So my first question is to Okan. Okan, how does the framework for enabling people-centered smart cities through digital transformation relate to smart or digital city strategies?
Thank you, Graham. I think the framework that I've gone through for enabling people-centered cities serves as a guiding structure almost that provides the methodology and focus for implementing smart or digital city strategies. So ensuring that they are rooted in the needs, aspirations, and well-being of the city residents. They can be used together, in fact. You can have a digital transformation strategy or a smart city strategy, but in conjunction with that, you can also apply the framework. So the relationship is maybe one of focus and implementation, and the framework enables us to have a human-centric lens in the way we do things, not a technology lens, both from an initiative perspective, from the outcomes perspective. So in essence, basically, the idea is not to be technologically advanced, but socially relevant and equitable, reaching citizen outcomes. Thank you, Graham. I think you are on mute, Graham, if I'm not mistaken.
It's good you reminded me. I put the camera back on, but not the microphone, sorry. Moving to you now, Teppo. Can I ask you, please, how can we better plan the experience of citizens in the new world of Cityverse?
That is an excellent question. I think that we need to be focusing a lot on the sort of different type of user interfaces we use with our citizens. So how we combine the different ways of communicating with them, how we bring different type of, for example, take the elderly people and elderly which are not technically that capable. How can we make sure that they are part of the dialogue with us? And we've been working on things like, for example, giving one of the user interface being speech, so enabling much more of that they can be communicating in the digital form through the speech. So having great technologies already in place there, but it's more like getting the people knowledge and comfortable position to use them. And that also includes one of the key elements, which I didn't mention in my speech earlier, but that is the element of trust. That people need to trust that what we are doing, that they will be able to, communicate with us and share their thoughts and share their data if need be. And that is something we enjoy in, Finland, Nordic countries. We enjoy a high level of trust in the society. So people are trusting us, we're trusting the public sector, the officials, and we need to maintain that trust. And we need to make sure that trust is key element of how we move forward when communicating with our people. So that is, to me, the short answer of what we need to be doing.
Thank you very much indeed, Seppo. Turning to you, Monica, which are the main projects undergoing in Quito at the moment to improve the current results?
Okay, thank you, Graham. I think we have, I think, many projects. I just talk about 3 of them. Our smart transport system, for instance, that help us to have real-time for citizens, real-time of transportation for citizens. And also they help us to improve our public transportation coverage. Yeah, I think it's the first one. Also, we have many campaigns related to speed countries under 50 kilometers per hour in order to reduce the fatalities in transportation. Also, we provide seed capital. And for instance, last week, I think we finally allocated around $1 million for seed capital in order to improve entrepreneurship and also help employment and youth employment. So I think these are the main projects that we are already working on in my city.
Thank you very much indeed, Monica. And finally, coming to you, Sarah, what are some of the critical success factors in ensuring that innovative technologies contribute towards improvements in service delivery?
Thanks. I think it's really important that we must understand that technologies and technical data does not replace local knowledge. It must supplement and support local knowledge, and it must bring local knowledge to the officials who need to incorporate that in our planning and our responses. It really needs to supplement the social systems are just as important. And so the way that data is collected, the way that data is shared, the way that it's embedded with our political and governance systems is just as important as the technology itself. And at its most simple, I would say that data and technology is only as valuable as enabling communication and governance systems allow it to be. So does it really drive decision-making? And is it really a two-way communication with people on the ground? Thanks.
Thanks very much indeed, Sarah, and thanks indeed to all of the panelists. I'm sorry we're running a bit short of time, but we're very grateful to your expertise and for you to share with us some of these amazing best practices. As we come to the conclusion of this webinar, I would like to invite Cristina Boetti, the focal point of the Sustainable Smart Cities and AI-powered virtual worlds at ITU, to share with us her closing remarks. Cristina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Graham, and happy World Cities Days to everyone. So, what an inspiring discussion this has been. So we have heard today how technologies, when guided by people's needs, can truly empower lives and shape cities that are not only smart, but human. Our hearts health, and I really would like to thank with all my heart Yanabita for co-organizing this webinar with us to celebrate this important day, a day that reminds us that collaboration is really our greatest innovation. So together we can bridge divides, amplify voices, and co-create cities where technologies serves humanity, not the other way around. But the conversation doesn't end here. So after a short 30-minute break, I warmly invite all of you to join the second part of the U4SSC meeting, starting at 13:30 Geneva time, where we will continue exploring how digital transformation can make our cities more inclusive, resilient, and people-centered. So grab a coffee, stretch your legs, and come back ready to keep this shaping the future together. Because the cities of tomorrow are not built by code or concrete alone. They're built by collaboration, creativity, and courage. So thank you to all of you for attending this webinar. Thank you to our great moderator, to all the speakers, and my special thanks to Hining, Chiara, and Laura for the amazing support in organizing this webinar. So I'll see you shortly at the U4SSC session. Thank you. The webinar is now concluded.
Thanks very much, Christina. Yeah, on behalf of both of us, thank you again for this amazing session today and this global conversation on inclusive cities, which, as you say, will be continued. So, well, I'll just wish all of you a happy World Cities Day and look forward to re-engaging with you in a very short while. So thank you again for your attention, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you. See you in a bit.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had a refreshing break and a chance to recharge after the engaging discussion earlier today. We also hope you enjoyed the digital transformation webinar and found it inspiring to see how digital innovation is already transforming lives and communities around the world. We now continue with our second session of the U4SSC meeting, titled Transforming Together Digital Innovation and Sustainability for People-Centered Cities. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Ms. Tanya Marcos, Vice Chair of the U4SSC initiative. Tanya, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Janine. My name is Tanya Marcos, Vice Chair at U4SSC, and it's my pleasure to moderate this important session on digital innovation and sustainability for people-centered cities. In this session, we will hear about the exciting work taking place across several U4SSC thematic groups, from digital transformation for people-centered cities to digital public infrastructure, sustainable digital transformation in buildings and urban energy, and social and cultural sustainability in city governance. Our speakers will share how cities around the world are harnessing digital innovation to become more sustainable, resilient, and inclusive. Let us welcome our panelists. First, Arne Ingebrigtsen, leader for U4SSC thematic group on social cultural sustainability in people-centered city governance. Bettina Tratz-Ryan, working group 2 leader on U4SSC thematic group on enable people-centered cities through digital transformation. Gamsi Jerai, working group 3 co-leader, U4SSC thematic group on enabling people-centered cities through digital transformation. Warren Smith, working group 5 co-leader at the U4SSC thematic group on enabling people-centered cities through digital transformation. And Vas Boersma, urban innovators, global and professor of practice at Thunderbird School of Global Management, the Netherlands. Rami Ahmed Fatih, leader at the U4SSC thematic group on digital public infrastructure for cities. Lorena Villar, senior project specialist at the UN Tourism. Mikey Salice, secretary to the Working Party on Land Administration at UNESE. And Victoria Papp, co-leader at the U4SSC thematic group on sustainable digital transformation in buildings and urban energy. Well, each of our speakers will share their insights, and after it, we will open the floor for an interactive question and answers. You can address them through the chat. Let's begin with our first speaker, Mr. Arne Ingebrigtsen, leader at the U4SSC thematic group on social cultural sustainability in people-centered city governance. Arne, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair, for the introduction. Good afternoon from Norway. This thematic group is about finding better ways to identify, measure, and act on a part of the population's lack of sustainable social factors. We try to switch the deck of cards, being convinced that the social and societal structures and societal infrastructure have less to do with sustainability than the sum of each individual's part and quality of life. Thank you for switching the slide. To measure these qualities, we have identified a set of personal drivers like empathy, trust, belonging, mental health, and others. This has been the team's primary task. A large part of the team's work so far has been to identify from which sources we can get accurate results of these drivers in our population. We have mapped the drivers to the SDGs and WHO's quality of life survey as a subjective input, and mapped the drivers to the Vuren indicators for a more quantitative perspective. It's been imperative for us to be able to identify the level of social sustainability in a population, regardless of the existing data, material or not. These predictions needs to work both in Gulu in North Uganda and in Paris, France. Next slide, please. As a sanity check, we have had several citizen meetings to get input on our thoughts and help in identifying personal, societal, social sustainability drivers that we could have overlooked. So a lot of discussions and great discussions. One goal of this group is to develop an application that will assist in selecting proper actions for a population that needs to strengthen one or several of these socio-cultural drivers. But before that, we need to finalize the case study, write the final guidelines and project report, and this work is in good progress. The software will assist the decision makers in putting the money and effort where you have the highest possibility of impact and success. In our journey, we have had monthly meetings driving the group forward. You can jump to the next slide. And as you can see, we have several upcoming meetings in 2025 and 26 on the right-hand side. And we feel that we're now on a level where we are investigating if existing solutions can be tweaked to accomplish our goal, or if we have to get our developers to start building this system. And that decision will be made before this year ends. So I'm very pleased for all the people showing up in our meetings. And I'm very pleased for the assistance we're getting from the secretary and for the amount of work that my team puts into this. So gladly, our preliminary phases of the project has been successful and increased our enthusiasm. With the goal continuously closer, we are more convinced than ever that this will level the playing field and give socio-cultural sustainability a more justified place amongst its sibling SDG dimensions, economy and environment. And looking forward to inform you again about the new progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arne, for your for sharing this U4SSC experience. Next up, we are thrilled to hear from Ms. Bettina Tratz-Ryan. Bettina is leader at the thematic group on enabling people-centered cities through digital transformation. Bettina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tanya. Sorry, I have a little bit delay in my video and audio, but I hope you can hear me well. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about our work group. We want to do something really very important one. As technology and digitization is increasing, cities build policies to advance the technology and mitigate the impacts that it has on communities and society. So it's kind of like a balancing act. We need policies that scale and provide for our agencies, but also for community, for entrepreneurs, for the industry, the right level of guardrails to use technology and innovation. But on the other hand, I mean, emerging technologies are advancing at a very immense speed. We need to ensure that our policies are agile enough to adapt to the changes, let's say, from AI to agentic AI and to general AI with all the kind of capabilities that are needed. So our work group too had published a first template and working document on how cities can use policy benchmarking to actually see if their policies that they are building and managing around the adoption of digital technology, if those policies are up to date. and still map the requirements of the community, but also the sheer scope of technical capabilities that we have. So we have actually published that document already. But policies are very different, dependent on the region and depending on the digital maturity and the aspects, the culture, the characteristics of cities. So in addition to this document, now we're providing all kinds of like support materials to make it easier for cities to not understand that they have to build a benchmark in order to adjust their digitization strategy, their procurement, the access to the technology and to the innovation across the community, but also to ensure that they have the right mechanisms in place. So as you can see here at the bottom, we're starting to build a handout that we will be able to use for different cities that we're approaching, so that they can test out if the benchmark is working, where do they see actually practical challenges, but also supporting them with the communication with different stakeholders, providing them with the standardized sets of go-to KPIs and measures. So the handout is the big work that we're actually addressing right now. But then also you need the support materials around frequently asked questions and the question of the cities, like, where do I enter my information and the data? So as you can see, we're going from the initial publication of the research now into like the practicality of like how to implement that in the real world. So we will be providing some templates for the actual benchmark, and then also like to see like how it is going to be published through U4SSC in collaboration with other cities. And we're also very anxious, of course, to see like how we can spread the word around it. So if you go to the next slide, you can see the document that was published and that is available to everybody. We also have some assigned group members that are happy to work as a guardian to the content. So if cities have questions, if new members have questions to the content, we're happy to have a guide that actually helps them through the document. Now, as you can see, we're not finished yet. We're just in the second phase of becoming more actionable. So we have a couple of upcoming meetings. In the next slide, you can see the meeting schedules that we have. You can see it's very dense. Anybody can join at any time, but we really are in a working mode right now to consolidate all the different feedback that we got from group members, and we got new group members. So it's really exciting to get new dynamic, new fresh ideas into that. And we would like to see some initial results on the handout by the end of the year, so that for then the spring we can start fielding this survey with the initial cities that we have selected. So I'm very excited. If you have any questions, please reach out to me or the team, and I'm looking forward to further collaboration.
Thank you so much, Bettina, for sharing U4SSC's valuable insights. We will now hear from Mrs. Gamsi Geray, Working Group 3 co-leader at the U4SSC thematic group on enabling people-centered cities through digital transformation. Gamsi?
Thank you very much,
The floor is
Tanya.
yours.
First of all, thank you so much. First of all, I do apologize for my background. Apparently, my PC doesn't support the new background, so I need to use my natural background to go through the slides. It's a pleasure to address you today and share an update on the work of Working Group 3 on performance, impact, and maturity assessment of digital transformation in people-centered cities. I have the honor of co-leading this working group together with John Simisiklas. And today's meeting basically will be a short update to recap what we have covered so far and to discuss the next steps as we move forward. Our aim in the scope is to actually equip cities with a flexible and holistic framework, an integrated framework for evaluating and advancing their digital transformation in a people-centered way, which means ensuring that technological progress leads to real measurable benefits for both cities and their inhabitants. The significance of this project lies in the fact that the framework and the KPIs, the set of KPIs we are developing, will have a direct impact on people's lives. So establishing this connection is very crucial. To achieve this, we are developing a set of key performance indicators. May I have the next slide, please? A set of key performance indicators, a high-level impact assessment approach, and a maturity assessment model in 2 phases. The phase 1, we started already this year, 2025. The phase 1 is almost over by end of this year. We have done a set of e-meetings throughout the year, and then I would like to especially thank the participants and U4SSC community and the agencies for their generous feedback and comments throughout the process. And we try to incorporate all the comments and feedback as much as possible. So we have done 2 rounds of consultations, and there will be 1 more round of consultations, basically, when we complete the final deliverable by end of November. And the second phase will start in year 2026, basically. May I have the third slide? So the first phase basically was based, as I mentioned, a kind of tiered approach, which means a stage-based approach from digital enablement to output usage and the outcome perspectives of the KPIs. In order to do that, we developed almost a set of 99 KPIs with 3 dimensions and 12 sub-dimensions. 3 dimensions are economy, environment, and society and culture in line with the U4SSC framework. And also the 12 sub-dimensions are linked to, as I mentioned, 99 KPIs in totals, and which with each KPI, we are developing a template with their description, definition, benchmark, methodology, rationale, their data sources and references in detail. So there will be a quite heavy kind of detailed part of deliverable, which will be delivered by beginning of December to get the 3rd round of the feedback. So these elements are designed to reflect the diverse context and development levels of the cities. And as I mentioned, this is a very flexible framework, which is designed to help cities define their own objectives, monitor progress, and drive inclusive, sustainable, and resilient digital transformation. This approach allows for the customization of KPIs. So this is a kind of mix and match approach. It's not one size fits all approach. It's basically the methods are based on each city's unique needs, priorities, and context. That's why it promotes a flexible and holistic methodology for urban development. And final deliverables will include the set of KPI, the KPI framework, assessment methodology, practical guidelines, and a high-level impact assessment tool based on an ITU method, which will be optional for the cities to, if they want to dive deeper, to assess their social, economic, and environmental aspects of the impact, and they might also use this optional impact assessment tool. May I have the next slide? And the phase 2 maturity assessment of digital transformation will start basically in 2026. Depending on the deliverables of the first phase, the timeline will be actually depend on the deliverables of the first phase, and it will be a natural extension of the first phase actually. And this deliverable, the maturity framework, will enable cities to map their stages of digital transformation, again, benchmark and prioritize action, strengthen governance, and achieve clear and measurable people-centric outcomes. May I also have the next slide? If we see, I'm pleased to say that our progress so far, we completed 65% of the KPIs aligned with U4SSC framework between January 2025 till end of October 2025. We refined classification of KPIs into core and advanced KPIs with detailed definitions. We integrated feedback from consultations, ensuring inclusivity and adaptability. We enhanced especially society and culture dimension, and all the materials uploaded on SharePoint, tables, KPI templates, sample KPIs, and all meeting minutes you can find under SharePoints as well. And the final slide. For our next steps and upcoming priorities, we plan to finalize remaining KPI templates and classifications by end of November 2025, beginning of December. And then the final deliverable will be shared again with U4SSC community to get the third round of consultations, planned launch basically in January 2026. And the next phase will begin probably in Q1 2026. We planned some e-meetings tentatively. I think I have one more slide. Yes, starting from March till June, we tentatively planned 3 e-meetings. As mentioned, these timelines of the e-meetings depend on the deliverables of the first phase. Thank you again so much for U4SSC, Secretariat community, and all participants for their support and continuous feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kamsi, for those inspiring reflections from U4SSC experience. Next, we are delighted to welcome Mr. Warren Smith, Working Group 5 co-leader at the U4SSC thematic group on enabling people-centered cities through digital transformation. Warren, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity to present today to provide an update on Working Group 5 on intergenerational procurement for people-centered cities. I'm presenting today as co-leader of Working Group 5, so also on behalf of my fellow co-leader, John Davies, from the UK Government's Department for Business and Trade. Working Group 5 is an evolution of previous work that John and I carried out under the former U4SSC thematic group, Procurement for Smart Sustainable Cities, which published its guidelines in May 2023. Several aspects from this previous work will be consistently reinforced through Working Group 5, which continues to build on the ITU definition of a smart, sustainable city. Merely days after last year's U4SSC meeting, the UN Summit of the Future was held in New York, when world leaders adopted the Pact for the Future, which includes a global digital compact and a declaration on future generations as its key annexes. The Pact covers a broad range of themes, including peace and security, sustainable development, climate change, digital cooperation, human rights, gender, youth and future generations, and the transformation of global governance. In the context of the Pact, smart, sustainable, and intergenerationally fair procurement means mainstreaming accessible, human-centered design, data-driven and open approaches to optimize investment decisions at every stage of a city's public procurement lifecycle. This requires us to recognize that procurement-related decisions, actions, and inactions of today's public administrations and their supply partners have intergenerational multiplier effects, both positive and negative. Additionally, this highlights the critical importance of present generations acting with responsibility towards safeguarding the needs and interests of future generations. The unit of delivery is the team, and it's paramount that city administrations empower and trust their teams to implement and mainstream participatory and anticipatory approaches in public procurement, which are fit to address 21st century polycrises. The primary expected deliverable of Working Group 5 is a model policy on intergenerational procurement for people-centred cities, which can be used as a lever to achieve inclusive, equitable, and sustainable policy outcomes that have positive economic, social, and cultural and environmental impacts spanning generations. We've already produced a straw person of the model policy, which provides a high-level outline of its potential structure, its content, the flow, and referenceable resources. Secondary deliverables could also include content on intergenerational procurement in support of deliverables from other thematic groups and working groups within the U4SSC programme. Virtual meetings have already been scheduled until March 2026, and a new series of dates have been shared with the U4SSC Secretariat to be held between April and October 2026. We won't be convening during July and August 2026 due to the Northern Hemisphere summer break. Once again, thank you for the opportunity today to provide an update on Working Group 5 on intergenerational procurement for people-centred cities. John and I look forward to continued contributions from experts in support of the deliverables. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Warren. Let's see. I have a problem with mine. Thank you, Warren, for sharing those insights. And let's turn to Dr. Rami Ahmed Fatih, who is leader of the U4SSC thematic group on digital public infrastructure, the DPI. Rami, please go ahead.
Thank you, Tanya. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues. Really a pleasure to present to you. I think one of the also important work that we currently do under the U4SSC initiative, which is related to the DPI for cities, digital public infrastructure for cities. We have been, hearing in the industry for quite some time now on the term digital public infrastructure and its importance as a building block that would allow sustainable digital transformation at scale. So the idea to extend that narrative and explore its intersection with cities. What are the key implications of DPI for cities? Can we use DPI to achieve sustainable digital transformation for cities? DPI, in principle, it started out as a top-down cross-government or cross-verticals approach, usually an effort that is currently being coordinated with typical ministries coming from the ICT side. And there was very few, if not any, treatment for the topic to tackle the concept from a bottom-up approach. So how can we develop a particular framework that would include both top-down and bottom-up views with the understanding that DPI as a concept is still an evolving one? That was one of the key challenges that we were thinking to tackle in that particular thematic group. So the title of this thematic group is called DPI for Cities, Digital Public Infrastructure for Cities. It has a particular scope, and the main objective is to investigate policy and technological narratives, aspects that would impact DPI design for cities. That would include aspects like governance, regulatory frameworks, technological infrastructure, and technical specifications, security and privacy aspects, and socioeconomic impacts, and of course inclusivity. And we also focused on developing actionable results through the development of several toolkits that would enable policymakers and city leaders, both those two key stakeholder groups, to embrace DPI for the public benefit or for the benefit of all stakeholders involved, even the citizens and the private companies as well. You know that cities and communities, our cities and communities today are witnessing or undergoing a profound transformation. And we see, or we tend to see, that digital public infrastructure now has emerged as one foundational enabler for inclusive, efficient, and sustainable urban development. And in that particular document, we have started at the thematic group level to work on the concept. And this is a framework document, a very important piece of work. It took us a year or even slightly more to develop the key areas or the key concepts of where DPI would then intersect with the cities. DPI for cities simply refers to a suite of trustworthy, secured, and interoperable people-centered digital systems. And that includes the most famous 3 pillars and more. The 3 pillars that currently the folks are discussing include digital identity, payments, and data exchanges and services platforms, but it also includes other key foundational elements, and we are advocating that AI foundational models, or at least part of them, the national registries are also part of what would be an inclusive concepts of DPI. So the idea is that these key components would act as public goods and would enable the delivery of essential services in our digital age. And this would allow inclusive, open, sustainable, fair, safe, and secure engagement between people and the city's processes and its underlying technologies. So this is very important. It's like the glue that would link the society, the economy, and the foundational elements of any digital transformation system together through a techno-policy narrative in order to achieve sustainable digital transformation at scale. So this document, it includes several components. Most importantly, some of the key insights that is included in this particular deliverable. The most important insight is that DPI is not just a technological infrastructure, it's a policy and a governance imperative. The benefits are wide-ranging. We are talking about improvement reported in the health sector, education, financial sectors, enabling real-time urban management through IoT, data analytics, and other key technological foundations that we can currently see in our smart cities. Again, parts of the benefits, we have seen an enhancement for the civic participation, and that would, of course, be through digital engagement platforms. However, still challenges are still, I mean, it remains still in several jurisdictions as far as we have witnessed. We can see that we still have fragmented legacy systems, some challenges associated with the lack of interoperability, digital inequalities, and weak data governance and capacity constraints, aspects that needs to be taken care of if we really want this policy and technology narrative to spread and to achieve the impact that we hope it would achieve. Next slide, please. Following slide, please. Thank you. So in order to, the one before, please. In order to showcase some of the key studies that would offer practical examples of DPI for cities delivering measurable outcomes. We have managed to analyze several use cases across very distinct viewpoints that would, from the exercise that we have tried to do, viewpoints that would reflect the 20 UN agency supporting the U4SSC. And that was a very unique treatment in terms of our way of assessment. So, for example, we have divided the different use cases into 8 particular viewpoints. And these viewpoints, for example, they include secure, resilient infrastructure and climate adaptation. They include urban environmental sustainability and biodiversity, urban economic transformation and industrial innovation, gender equality, social inclusion and human rights in urbanization, smart digital governance and data-driven urban management, sustainable urban mobility, tourism and cultural preservation, sustainable urban food systems and rural urban linkages, multilateral cooperation and regional urban strategies. So as you can see, we have tried to use such very unique viewpoints to analyze all the use cases in different parts of the world. And this is to showcase that DPI goes beyond the typical narrow angle of what would be the impact of digital identity, payment, and data exchanges on digital transformation. Now, we were looking for what would be the impact of these key critical components on all those aspects that I have explained. What would be the impact of digital identity on our resilience and climate adaptation, for example, strategies in a particular city? What would be the impact of the data exchanges on the urban environmental sustainability and on our biodiversity agenda at the city level, etc., etc. It was a very interesting exercise, and I have to say that we have learned a lot. It's a marvelous exercise, and there are so many linkages that we were able to draw on the enabling policies and institutional foundations that we have developed. So these are some of the key critical aspects. Of course, there are so many details under each pillar. We are talking about, in principle, whole of government approach, new governance models that needs to be in place in order to achieve a sustainable DPI strategy for cities. We need reforms at the legal and regulatory frameworks level, at the city and at the national level, and of course, stakeholders' engagement and public trust. Next slide, please. Our work is currently divided into 5 key main working groups. Each working group is led by key experts from diverse backgrounds from different regions. Working Group 1 is led by Brazil, and it's currently focusing on developing governance and regulations around DPI for cities. That would include legal and regulatory frameworks, policies, oversights, and rules for how DPI can be governed to ensure accountability, safety, and security, and resilience, and of course inclusivity as well. Key expected deliverable that we are currently working on is a document on governance and regulatory frameworks of DPI for cities. And as you can see, we have a bunch of several upcoming meetings in 2025, 2026. The work, though, at this particular working group is still at an early stage, and we are injecting new blood and new expertise as we move forward with our work. Next slide, please. Working Group 2 is also a very important piece of work. It is led by Jan Rittledge from Bonn Consulting Group in Germany, and this group is responsible for the technical side. It answers the very important question of what infrastructure elements are needed, what technical standards from interoperability, interfaces, data standards, protocols, etc., what physical and digital infrastructure components that cities city need, and it also addresses technical design considerations, performance, scalability, etc. And the one key expected deliverable, we are in a very good shape, almost 90% of achieving this deliverable under Working Group 2, which is called Architectural Approaches and Implementation Strategies for Digital Public Infrastructure for Cities. Upcoming meetings, as you can see, we also have a meeting today, right after this annual meeting, this virtual meeting, and we are now focusing or increasing the frequency of our meeting in an attempt to finalize at least in Feb of 2026, right after the Christmas breaks. Next slide, please. Working Group 3 is also a very important pillar of our work. It focuses on security and privacy aspects. It's currently led by Li Zhang from ZTE China and assisted as well, co-led with a gentleman from India as well, Kishore. And so this work focuses on safeguarding privacy and data protection in the DPI space. Currently, we have almost produced like 95% pending final confirmation through the mailing lists. The document is going to be available for finalization, for review by the U4SSC management team and of course, partner UN agencies, almost in 1 month or less time frame. This expected deliverable, the title, its title is called High-Level Framework on Digital Public Infrastructure Security, and it's a cross-cutting horizontal document. And later on, we are going to develop, most probably in 2026, a series of targeted documents focusing on the intersection of the horizontal layer, the DPI generic framework, DPI security, and we would then investigate some vertical domains or vertical elements. For example, DPI for cities in the health domain, in the education domain. We will investigate the particular requirements of each of these particular sectors from the DPI and security points of view. Next slide, please. Working Group 4 focuses on the toolkits, and it is led by James Amate and Hussam Al-Masri. This is a very important working group. It focuses on developing tools, templates, practical guides, and toolkits that allow cities and the stakeholders to use and adopt and possibly implement some of the DPI components that we are currently investigating. And we have produced almost, I have to tell you, more than 150 pages of content. Currently, we are investigating how to divide it into some consumable chapters or perhaps separate documents, one focusing on the digital identity systems, another document would focus on the payments, a third on the exchanges, and so on, and other documents on the policy narratives, etc., etc. These are highly technical documents that would allow implementers to pick the right set of modalities, the right set of open source tools that would assist them in their implementation journey. Next slide, please. Working Group 5 is also a very important piece of work, and this completes our whole treatment. It focuses on the socio-economic impact and inclusivity. It's led by Catherine Willis, an esteemed professor from the UK, which focuses on the socio-economic impacts and develop the right key performance indicators and the right tools that would allow us to assess the DPI for cities impact from a socio-economic point of view. I'm happy to take any question. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share our progress on this particular front. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Something happens. Thank you so much, Dr. Rami, for the great overview and achievements of the task group on digital public infrastructure. We are looking forward to having your new U4SSC deliverable very soon. And well, now we will hear from Mr. Bas Boersma, Urban Innovators Global and Professor of Practice at Thunderbird's School of Global Management from the Netherlands. Bas, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce the aim and agenda of a new working group 6. Very proud to co-lead the initiative together with Mr. Teppo Rantanen from the city of Tampere in Finland. This working group will develop a global framework of digital development goals for cities. This framework is to provide guidance and is to frame how achieving the sustainable development goals in cities can be supported by means of digitalization. These same digital development goals will also contain unique new goals that will address inclusive and sustainable digitalization in itself. The framework will help cities to report progress on and enable progress through digitalization using clear metrics. The impact of digitalization on our cities, our urban societies, has already been profound. Impact that ranges from simple efficiencies to system shifts, from slightly optimized patterns of traffic to new models and access to education, service delivery, and digital-centric new types of jobs. 3 decades of internet and 2 decades of digital transformation in urban environments have provided us with many lessons learned, many best practices. Experiences abound as to what works, but also what does not. So why craft digital development goals, and why are we doing it now? First, the past decades of digitalization have taught us that not all outcomes of digital are benign or desired by default. We will need to plan for outcomes that we need or desire, outcomes that contribute to the evolvement of smart and sustainable and inclusive cities and communities. Ultimately, we need to set digital development goals for ourselves that will support the realization of sustainable development goals. Second, new technologies are set to result in new system shifts. AI, advanced data strategies, and novel virtualization technologies can be expected to impact almost any type of human and non-human conduct at levels equally or even more disruptive than the previous 3 decades of digitalization. Ladies and gentlemen, as experienced in the industrial revolutions of the past, new technologies are initially used as tools to optimize old worlds, old ways of doing things. What then typically follows is for these technologies to evolve incrementally, yet also often disruptively, with these technologies letting go of the old world and shape new worlds altogether. And this is exactly where we find ourselves right now. Many of the smart city endeavors of the recent past generally commenced with creating efficiencies for urban environments that we knew very, very well. Digitalization has shifted gears at this point, however. Indeed, it is increasingly powering entirely new services, new jobs, new types of mobility, new and unified measures of urban resilience and security, and new business models. For the first time in the history of cities, they are no longer expressed in the 2 old dimensions that we know well. That is the physical one and the social-economic one. These 2 dimensions have now been joined by the digital one. Cities now increasingly express themselves by digital means and in digital realms. And these 3 dimensions impact each other deeply. Think of the emergence of the so-called cityverse, and it becomes clear how the next leap in urban digitalization is translating into new worlds quite literally. Third, The maturing of digitalization in our cities makes it more important than ever to, of course, craft digital development goals in support of the Sustainable Development Goals, but also to set digital development goals in their own right, goals that will deeply influence how digital will shape our urban futures, goals that do not always have a direct equivalent in the frameworks of existing development goals. The emancipation of digitalization requires us to look at digital as something more than a set of tools. It requires us to look at digitalization as producing outcomes that stand in their own right. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for the creation of digital development goals for cities is now. In fact, had we collectively fully anticipated how fast digitalization would evolve and how we ideally would have created these goals, we should ideally have created these goals years ago. But there is this saying, it has been said, that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best moment is now. The Working Group 6 sets out to create digital development goals for cities. It will be a global framework, yet designed for translation and application according to local conditions. The Working Group sets out to work with experts across verticals, technologies, models of governance, security, citizen engagement, and more. It is also to collaborate with local city leadership from across the world, from the earliest stages onward, as to ensure we build a shared language, realize our goals across the world, and build the adaptable designs that will guide us for years to come. The Working Group 6 aims at delivering on the Digital Development Goals framework within a 12-month period. Next slide, please. A schedule of meetings has been proposed for all those collaborating to engage. We look forward to the mission ahead. We look forward to come up with the updates regularly and to commence doing so fast. Ladies and gentlemen, and also very much on behalf of the co-leader of this initiative, Teppo Rantanen, I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Vas, for those inspiring reflections of this new Working Group 6 on digital development goals. I'm pretty sure that most of the people that it's connected today will love to join. And now it's my pleasure to invite Ms. Lorena Villar, who is Senior Project Specialist at the U4SSC. Lorena, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here representing the Working Group 7 on Smart Destination Platforms, which is an initiative led by UN Tourism, the former World Tourism Organization, along with Segitur within this framework of the United for Smart and Sustainable Cities. And it's my pleasure today to represent two co-leaders of the working group, Ms. Sandra Carvalho from UN Tourism and Mr. Ezequiel Garcia from Segitur. So I'm going to provide you some contents about our organization, which the main goal is to promote tourism as a driver of economic growth, inclusive development, and environmental sustainability, and to provide leadership and support the sector towards advancing knowledge and tourism policies worldwide. I specifically work in the area of urban tourism, and that's why I'm represented today on behalf of the leaders of this working group. And in parallel, we have the second co-leader, which is Segitur, which is a Spain-based company, which is in charge of innovating in tourism, technologies, innovation, management for Spain to foster innovation, knowledge, entrepreneurship in the tourism sector to enhance their competitiveness and sustainability. So we joined together to lead this working group on smart destination platforms, which is our aim is to provide the main goal of the the working group, and the scope of our work that we are developing, it's almost finished, seeks to facilitate the transition towards a new model of tourism management, one that is data-driven, collaborative, and also innovative. And our aim is to provide a global and adaptable framework that any destination, regardless of their level of digital maturity, can use to design and implement its own smart platform, a smart destination platform. The main expected output of this working group it's a practical guide. It's a smart destination platform, a guide for destinations. There are destinations that are developing this kind of platforms focused on tourism. But our goal is to focus as well on the country level. I will show some examples. I will provide you with some examples that are developing these kind of platforms. And please, next slide. Okay, this focus on smart applied to the tourism aims to address some challenges of tourism in cities, but that also enhance opportunities that tourism represents for cities thanks to digitalization. So why smart destination platforms for tourism? Because tourism represents brings jobs to cities, prosperity, and many opportunities, but also poses some challenges. From tourism is a cross-cutting sector across the city, and it poses challenges regarding sustainability, some cultural impacts, environmental impact. If we don't measure the impact of tourism in cities, congestion, fragmented governance, infrastructure pressure, and the rapid digital transformation that destinations are striving to navigate. And on the other side, if we focus from the demand perspective as well of tourism, we are seeing for the development of tourism in cities, we're seeing customers, travelers with changing travelers' expectations, willing to use technology, willing to get some really personalized experiences, looking for sustainability in cities, and that's why these kind of platforms are so powerful in terms of sustainable tourism development in cities. So what is the destination platform? This is a integrated digital ecosystem that combines public and private data to enable better and more efficient management of tourism resources. Through digitalization, artificial intelligence, data analytics, such platforms empower destinations to offer more personalized experiences for tourists, businesses, and residents alike. The benefits are enhanced visitor experiences, better services for residents, data-driven management to mitigate the impacts that I just mentioned, such as promote spatial distribution of tourists, temporal diversification. It will also enhance the policy coherence across domains such as culture within the city, mobility, environmental, housing domains within the city, and inclusive governance through active participation of communities and stakeholders. All this with an alignment of data and indicators within the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals and international standards. And it will also provide foresights, the opportunity to perform foresights and prepare for future crises. So it will enhance also the resilience of cities. So what are the key areas of focus? The heart of this platform, there are several areas. First, governance and collaboration. The platform promotes multi-level governance and encourages private, public, and community partnerships that strengthen coordination among all actors involved in the tourism management. And this inclusive model enhances transparency, shared responsibility, and collective ownership of tourism development. The Smart Destination Platform builds upon international standards, in particular ITU standards, with ensuring interoperability, semantic alignment, and the seamless integration of technologies such as artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and big data analytics. And these standards will provide a solid foundations for creating connected, intelligent, and sustainable tourism ecosystems. Second, service delivery and maturity. The platform functionalities evolve through 3 levels of maturity. First, digital core, integrating and structuring destination data, advances on digital services that improve the experience of visitors and residents. And then we culminate in phase of data intelligence, where analytics and predictive tools will support strategic planning and decision-making. Sorry. Third, security and ethics. The Smart Destination Planners will embed the privacy by design principles and ethical data governance, ensuring that data is handled responsibly, securely, and in full compliance with privacy regulations. And finally, the impact and evaluation. The platform will incorporate digital maturity assessment tools and align its key performance indicators with the Sustainable Development Goals and U4SSC initiative indicators, enabling destinations to monitor progress, measure impact, and evaluate sustainability and competitiveness in a consistent and comparable way. Next slide, please. So this will be the timeline for the delivery. We are finalizing right now the layout of the publication. So we will submit full review and approval this next month, tomorrow and November on. And we expect to deliver the output in January in 2026. So that will be all from my side. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lorena. Lorena, for sharing the UN tourism value insights in front of leading this work on smart destination platforms. We are looking forward to the publication of this U4SSC deliverable as well very soon. And well, let's now turn to Ms. Maike Salise, Secretary to the Working Party on Land Administration at UNECE.
Thank you
Maike,
yes.
The floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. So my name is Maike Salise. I work at UNECE in the Committee on Urban, or the Secretariat to the Committee on Urban Development, Housing and Land Management. And we are a long-standing partner to UNECE, and we are quite pleased to suggest a new thematic activity under the Working Group 8 on integrated urban, land and housing data framework. And so this proposed activity links closely to the work under the Committee on Urban Development, Housing and Land Management. Earlier this month, we had a ministerial meeting of ministers in charge of housing who came together in Geneva, and they developed to talk about the pressing issue of the housing crisis in the pan-European region. And so one of the topics they discussed is also the lack of data at different levels of governments related to urban land and housing. And so they concluded the ministerial meeting with a list of commitments they adopted. And one of the commitments is specifically targeted to the systematic collection and sharing of national, regional and local housing data cadastres and land data. And so this is something where we see a good link to the work on U4SSC. So basically, we use this as a mandate to suggest this activity to develop such a framework for an integrated urban land and housing data framework, to see what can it look like for cities, but also regional and national government level. And so the idea is to address this data gap that is there and to systematically bring together these different types of data to support evidence-made decision-making for urban development, housing policies, and land management across the different tiers of government. And we will do this with 3 expected deliverables. So one is a collection of case studies to see what already exists at different levels of government, also maybe across different levels of governments. Then mapping what kind of frameworks are there, how do they work, what are the advantages and disadvantages, and then use this to develop these guidelines for setting up a framework. Within this activity, we're planning to organize this along three.
Hola. Tengo que estar conectada hasta las 3:15 en silencio.
Sorry, someone is not muted. So this area is planned to go along 3 different dimensions. One is, of course, the data and indicators. So what kind of data do we need? How can this data be standardized? And like what kind of data inventories do we need? How can it be harmonized and made interoperable between the different levels of governance and the different owners of the data? Then the aspect of multi-level governance, since we are speaking at developing a framework that goes across different levels of governance. And then, of course, the technological architecture, where we also hope to build on existing work of U4SSC that has been developed on city data platforms, for example, and see what is the technical architecture that we would include in such a framework. And if you go to the next slide, since this is work that is in the phase of planning and preparation, we didn't put a list of dates when we will meet, but more a tentative timeline of how we plan to pursue with this activity, which includes now until the end of the year, the project scoping and a call for experts, and then the idea to launch this working group in January, collect the case studies, do an analysis of the existing systems, and then until summer have an outline of what this framework guidelines could look like. We're then linked to also the intergovernmental process of the Committee on Urban Development, Housing and Land Management at UNECE. So it would be, the idea is to have this outline endorsed there and then continue with a more detailed developing of the guidelines in the second half of 2026 to 2027. With the idea to then have this also endorsed by our committee. So if there's anyone, I use this platform also to just use this as a call for expression of interest. So if there's anyone interested in contributing to this work, please reach out to me, and we're happy to collaborate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mikey, for sharing UNECE's Working Party on Land Administration valuable insights. And of course, that call you made, we hope you have a very good feedback for that. And now we will hear from Ms. Victoria Papp, who is co-leader at the U4SSC thematic group on sustainable digital transformation in buildings and urban energy. Victoria, the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tanya. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to join today's meeting and to share an update on the work of the U4SSC thematic group on sustainable digital transformation in buildings and urban energy, which I have the pleasure of co-leading alongside Gulnara Roll from UNEP. So this group was recently established to respond to a very critical intersection of sustainability, technology, and the built environment. Our work looks closely at how digital transformation can be harnessed to make buildings and urban energy systems more efficient, resilient, and inclusive. And as some of you may know, buildings play a significant role in sustainability. They account for nearly 40% of the global energy-related carbon emissions, and they also consume a large share of raw materials and water. So this challenge also represents an opportunity for the industry. With digital tools like AI-driven energy management, IoT sensors, and digital twins, we can make buildings more efficient, adaptive, and better connected to urban systems. And at the same time, there's still a clear knowledge gap. Many cities and building owners are asking, what's working, where is it working, and how can we scale it? So our thematic group is really looking at bridging that gap, understanding where technologies can be implemented in the building sector, what are the solutions out there, and of course, very importantly, looking at case examples and case studies. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So just briefly, why we initiated the thematic group. As I mentioned, the built environment plays a really significant role in sustainability and reducing our global energy related carbon emissions. And so the thematic group, as I mentioned, is looking really to bridge that gap between sustainability goals and what are the practical applications of digital innovation in buildings. We also wanted to bring a global platform to bring together experts to share knowledge and to work on deliverables, which I will mention later on in this presentation, that support not just the building sector, but also cities as a whole. We also wanted to highlight actionable people-centered strategies that support smarter, greener, and more resilient urban energy systems through buildings. And then, of course, identify what actually is delivering results and to share practical lessons learned to cities, policymakers, building owners, and operators, which also align with broader SDG framework as well. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So our work is currently structured around two main working groups. The first, working group 1, is titled Emerging Solutions for Buildings, which focuses on identifying and documenting how digital transformation is already reshaping building operations and sustainability outcomes. The second is working group 2, titled Guiding Principles for Buildings, which will build on the findings from working group 1, but translate them into a set of concrete actionable principles for cities and building owners and managers. So together, we're hoping that these two working groups kind of form more of a full picture of what's happening now in the industry and how we can scale it effectively and responsibly. Next slide, please. So to dive in a little bit, as you saw on the previous slide, working group 1 has been initiated, and we've been working this year on a deliverable. Working group 2 will start shortly thereafter. So working group 1, as I mentioned, is really the foundation of this kind of thematic group effort because buildings represent one of the most immediate and scalable opportunities for impact. So we're exploring how digital transformation can be applied in practice, whether or not that's from energy management systems, sensors, smart building platforms, to digital design and predictive maintenance. So our goal is to show how these innovations and digital technologies can accelerate decarbonization, improve resilience, and make buildings not just smarter, but also more sustainable. And also importantly, we're connecting these lessons to broader city and international goals, ensuring that digitalization supports sustainability, not just technology for technology's sake. So making sure that they really do have an impact there at the building level and sustainability level as well. Next slide, please. So that was our scope. Now we are working currently on a deliverable. Our main deliverable is a report titled Emerging Solutions for Buildings, Real-World Digital Transformation and Action. So this is really designed to be practical evidence-based solutions, not just like a technology overview. It will feature real examples from around the world examining enabling conditions such as policy and procurement, and also highlighting both the successes and the barriers we still currently face. The report will also look at the human and economic side, so including cost, scalability, and operational impacts, so that the insights that we bring from this deliverable are relevant to both the public and private stakeholders. So as a whole, the framework is really highlighting kind of that digital transformation in buildings. Where are we now? What's happening? The methodology in which we're selecting case studies, which is very important. The case studies themselves, and then those enabling conditions as well. On to the next slide, please. Wonderful. So we're now at the stage of building out the case study section of the report. Our focus is ensuring diversity, meaning by geography, by building type, and by technology, so that the examples are both representative and practical. We want to make sure that we're not focusing too much on office buildings or brand new builds, but want to make sure that we get a very representative sample to make sure that is also practical to a wide range of buildings and cities as well. So these case studies will include both commercial and public buildings. We're looking at how digital tools that have been implemented are supporting net zero transitions and improving occupant well-being as well. So we'll continue working into the new year with the goal of delivering a draft by the summer of 2026. So next slide, please. I think has some timelines. Yes, wonderful. So we have some upcoming meetings in 2025 and 2026, hoping to have a deliverable by the summer of 2026. So we have these meetings scheduled to make sure that our work is continuing, and of course these meetings remain open. So if this is an area that you're passionate about, we of course invite you to join us. Whether or not you want to share your experiences, your ideas, or examples from your work, we welcome you to join our meetings, especially if you have case examples. We'd love to hear from you. Please do feel free to reach out. And then I think just the final slide. Wonderful. So before closing, I'd like to thank the U4SSC and the Secretariat for their continuous support of our thematic group and the working group. And I would also like to give a special thank you to all of the experts and contributors who have dedicated their time and knowledge so far to help us reach this stage. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you in the next meeting, and to welcome any newcomers as well. If you have any questions, please do feel free to ask them or to reach out. Happy to continue the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victoria, for those inspiring reflections from U4SSC's experience in this thematic group on buildings and urban energy, remarking that it considers buildings, but also all the elements in the city as a whole. I take note, and of course the call for all the experts. That's the meaning of this meeting. And now I can see that we don't have any question in the chat. That means that everything is so clear that you are full of questions. The first is how to link and how to engage. We will be very, very pleased to bring new experts to the thematic groups. So thank you. We have run to the very end if we don't have any question. I want to thank you, all our speakers, for their insightful contributions, and to all participants for your engagement. And we would like to congratulate each thematic group for the impressive progress achieved in advancing practical solutions and knowledge that support people-centered digital transformation towards smart, sustainable cities. The speakers highlighted the importance of integrated technology, governance, and culture to ensure that innovation truly serves people and the planet. And finally, let's continue with working together to make digital transformation a force for inclusion, opportunity, and shared progress. And with that, I now pass the floor back to Jeanine. So thank you very much, Jeanine.
Thank you very much, Tanya, and thank you to all our panelists for sharing such inspiring update and progress across the different U4SSC thematic groups. We now move to the final session of the day, which will focus on the update of the U4SSC annual work plan and future activities. The session will be moderated by Mr. Giampiero Bomgione, Vice Chair of the U4SSC Initiative. Giampiero, please go ahead.
Thank you, Hining. I'm Giampiero Bomgione. I'm very glad to moderate this session. Thank you. In this session, we will provide an update of the United for Smart Sustainable Cities annual work plan, highlighting the progress we have achieved over the past year, and of course outlining the key priorities and activities for the next implementation cycle, in line with commitment to advancing smart, sustainable, and people-centered urban development in support of the SDGs. This commitment, as well known, is a goal for UNECE as well as for the UN system organization involved in the initiative. So at the same time, we will be able to outline future activities and how they will contribute to the implementation of for the future and the global digital compact. So let's welcome our speaker, Ms. Cristina Boiti, Councillor of United for Smart Sustainable Cities. Cristina, the floor is yours.
So I would like to present to you the work plan of the U4SSC. This is probably the only moment when we will take more procedural approach, because that's the moment really to review the activities and to get the approval specifically for the next year's activity. So let us quickly move to the next slide. And thank you so much, Grace, for helping out. So the first thematic group is the digital transformation for people-centered cities. The co-leaders will be from UN Habitat, Digital Dubai, ITU, and the Austrian Economic Center. There will be a series of working groups under this thematic group, and the scope, I'm not going to read the scope of each of the thematic group, because it's simply summarizing a bit the presentation which you have already heard before. So let us quickly move to the second slide, where we are going to have the various working groups. So as you already have heard from Okan, Working Group 1 concluded the work with the official launch of a new report on a framework for enabling people-centered cities for digital transformation, which was officially launched today. Working Group 2 completed their work with a deliverable, but sorry, they will continue the work under Working Group 2, although they completed a deliverable, which is titled Policy Benchmarks for Digital Transformation of People-Centered Cities. Working Group 3, their work will continue, and it is expected that they will finalize it by the end of next year with the set of key performance indicators. If you can kindly move to the next slide. Grace? Yes, thank you. So Working Group 4 concluded its work with basically two reports that have been published, a methodology to assess net zero progress in cities, along with guidelines for cities to achieve carbon net zeros through digital transformation. Working Group 5, actually led by Warren and John, will continue the work in 2026. And Working Group 6 is the new working group, actually, which is being initiated indeed, as you can see, kickoff, that will be led by Bas and Teppo, and that was presented before. That concludes actually the plans for the thematic group on digital transformation for people-centered cities. So now we can move to the next one. Artificial intelligence in cities, so that will be led by UNU, eGov, and Digital Dubai. And then similarly, I would suggest that we move to the next slide, considering that there has been already a detailed presentation of the thematic group. So Working Group 1 completed its work and actually developed guiding principles for artificial intelligence in cities. Working Group 2 will continue its work, and it is expected that it will be finalized in the first 6 months of 2026. Then we're going to have Working Group 3, which will continue its work in 2026. As you can see, there are already a couple of meetings planned, along with Working Group 4, that will also continue the work in 2026. And we have a new working group, which is actually being launched at this meeting, that is on agentic AI for cities. So that concludes information on the thematic group on AI in cities. And of course, if there are any questions, or please feel free to write the question in the chat or raise your hand, and then I'll try to check also the list. So can we move to the next slide? So then we have the next thematic group on DPI for cities, which is led by NTRA Egypt. The next slide, please. As you can see, well, Dr. Rami presented before how basically the DPI thematic group is organized. So there are basically 5 working groups. They have already successfully completed that deliverable titled Building Digital Public Infrastructure for Cities and Communities. And then basically Working Group 1 on governance and regulatory framework, Working Group 2 on technological infrastructure and technical specification, Working Group 3 on security and privacy, Working Group 4 on DPI toolkits, and Working Group 5 on socioeconomic impacts and inclusivity. They will all continue their work in 2026. You can see also in the slides the leaders of all working groups. And then let us move to the next slide. So the next one is the thematic group on city platforms and data spaces that will be led by UNIC, FEMP, the City of Valencia, and the Technology Group. Similarly, if you can move to the next slide, Grace, So as you can see here, we have basically the scope of this thematic group, which has been slightly revised compared to what we had in the past, taking into consideration that there will be work initiated, especially on data spaces, as well as a new working group that will be under the leadership of UNECE. So maybe if you can move to the next slide, please. So here is how it is organized, the thematic group on city platforms and data spaces. So we do have working group 1, which successfully completed a deliverable titled Digital Solution for Integrated City Management and Use Cases, along with a compendium of survey results on integrated digital solution for city platforms around the world. Working group 2 completed also another deliverable on smart public health, emergency management, and ICT implementations. Working group 3 on smart city platform, transitioning to a new architecture, completed also a deliverable titled Redefining Smart City Platforms, setting the stage for minimum interoperability mechanism. Working group 4 completed also deliverable on smart tourism, a path to more secure and resilient destination. Working group 5 on reference framework for an integrated management of smart sustainable cities, completed also a deliverable. And then next one. Working group 6 on data and APIs in smart cities actually completed 2 deliverables. A deliverable, only one, data and API requirements for centralized smart city platforms. And then basically working group 7, which was presented by Lorena a few moments ago, basically is finalizing the report. So we hope that it will be published in the first 4 months of 2026. So I think that maybe there should be a correction in the slide. The expected publication date, it should be actually 2026 and not 2025. So we need to correct it immediately after the meeting ends. And then working group 8 is the new working group, which, as I mentioned before, will be led by Maike, and is on integrated urban land and housing data. Sorry, here, Maike, it was framework or platform? I think that in your presentation, I saw it was framework, but please feel free to
exactly. We changed it to framework, and then as a potential next step could be the platform, but for now, the framework is
so the working group should be called framework or platform?
Framework, please.
Framework. Okay, then we will correct also that as well. Thank you so much for making the correction. Okay, excellent. Let us move to the next one. And then we do have also the thematic group on social cultural sustainability in people-centered city governance, which is led by the city of Christiansand. As you can see here, we have the scope and already the planned e-meetings. And we do have actually an expectation for a publication in 2026. So we can move to the next slide, please. Then we do have the thematic group on digital transformation in buildings and urban energy, which was just presented by Victoria. So let's quickly go to the next slide. So there is basically working group 1, which was just presented by Victoria, and an expectation actually for a publication to be completed by 2026. And then working group 2 will start its work immediately after. Okay, so then let us, if you can go to the next slide, please. Then we do have the Future Foresight for Cities thematic group. The publication is expected in 2026, and the scope actually is the same as the one that we have already approved, with a series of planned meetings in the next few months. So if we can move to the next slide. So before concluding, I would like to mention that all of the thematic groups that have been presented, and of course the related working groups, information is available on the U4SSC website. For those of you that would like to join any of the working groups or thematic groups, feel free to do so. You need, as usual, to subscribe to the U4SSC mailing list and then check actually the specific working group that you are interested in, and then you will be able to access the latest documents as well as to participate in the various meetings. Also, with the permission of the moderator, along with the work plan, I would like to take the opportunity to briefly present the draft report of today's discussion, which has been prepared together with all the speakers and moderators, so that we can quickly go through and approve it before the end of the meeting. So this is the meeting report of the this meeting of the U4SSC held on 31st of October. And then, as you know, the U4SSC is a United Nations initiative which is coordinated by ITU, the UNECE, and UN Habitat, and is supported, of course, by the 20 UN entities. The U4SSC was established in 2016, I think, as you have heard from Paula at the very beginning of this meeting, so almost 10 years ago. If you can scroll down, supports cities and communities worldwide in leveraging digital technologies to accelerate their transition towards smart, sustainable, and resilient urban futures. And then aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly as the SDG 11 and the Pact for the Future, U4SSC serves as a global platform to shape inclusive policies, foster innovation, and advance digital transformation for people and the planet. Now, if we can move to the next slide, as you know very well, the objective of this meeting were to provide you with an update of the work of the U4SSC thematic groups and working groups, which I hope you have enjoyed, to discuss the new U4SSC activities and to approve the U4SSC annual work plan, which I have just presented to all of you. And the program and the presentation of this meeting can be found at the link that you can see on the screen, and that, of course, will be made available on the U4SSC website. And then if we can quickly move to the next slide. Now, I'm not going to read exactly all the paragraph. As I said, this report has been jointly prepared with all the speakers and moderator, but just, you know, it contains really the main highlights of this discussion. So starting with the opening remarks that were delivered by Seizo Noe, Director of Telecommunications Standardization Bureau, followed by Paula Veda from UNECE, and Okan, the chair of the initiative, that the three of them opened the meeting. Then we had actually a session that was moderated by UNITAR, and that envisaged the presentations of the U4SSC thematic group on AI in cities, which was presented by UNU, by Sumaya, followed by actually the launch of the deliverable. So congratulations to Okan and all the thematic group on digital transformation for people-centered cities for this amazing result. So today we launched actually a framework for enabling people-centered cities through digital transformation. Okan also provided an overview of the thematic group on future foresight for cities and digital well-being, mentioning already that The guide and the case studies are expected to be launched actually next week during the Smart City Expo in Barcelona, where we will hold actually a special session of the U4SSC on the 5th of November. So for those of you that will be in Barcelona, feel free to join us there. If we can move to the next slide, actually, then we had session 2, which was moderated by Tanya, our vice chair of the U4SSC. And we had the pleasure actually to welcome presentation from Anne, specifically on the thematic group on social cultural sustainability. Bettina, that provided an overview of the thematic group on digital transformation for people-centered cities, especially focusing on working group 2, which she leads, followed by Gamze, that presented actually updates on working group 3, so in particular on the integrated framework to assess and guide people-centric digital transformation, which is being developed, followed by also Warren, that provided an update on working group 5, and in particular on the model policy on intergenerational procurement, which is being developed. Then we had a presentation from Baz, our new co-leader, together with Teppo. So welcome to Baz and Teppo to the U4SSC family with this new working group on digital development goals. Then we had the presentation from Rami, our vice chair of the U4SSC, but also chair of the thematic group on DPI for cities, followed by the presentation from Lorena from UN Tourism on behalf of the co-leaders of Working Group 7. And then we had the presentation from Maike from UNECE with the new working group on integrated urban land and housing data framework. So welcome also to Maike as a leader of this new working group. And then Vittoria actually presented actually an update of the thematic group on sustainable digital transformation in buildings and urban energy, in particular on working group 1. And then I, together with Giampiero, that is moderating this session on U4SSC, we have actually provided you with an update of the annual work plan for 2025 and 2026. So now I would like to take a moment from a procedural perspective to ask if there are any comments or if this work plan can be considered approved first. Okay, thank you. Then if this work plan can be considered approved, then we continue with the report. And then, as you can see, after this session, there will be the concluding remarks that will be delivered actually by Wendy, our vice chair, that is actually currently in the Dominican Republic. But despite it is very early in the Dominican Republic, she has been connected from the very beginning to this meeting, and that will deliver amazing closing remarks. So with that, I would like to ask the meeting whether there are any comments, or we can consider this also report of the meeting approved. Giampiero, I see that there are no comments on the report, so we can consider this report approved. So now sorry, I'd like to go to give you the floor back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristina. Thank you for sharing with us the report, and thank you very much for that comprehensive update of and for sharing the progress of the future priorities. Your insights highlight the initiatives progress and the significant support provided by the program of work focused on smart, sustainable, and people-centered and sustainable development. In my vision, today more than ever, this initiative is a duty to contribute to building a better world of peace and quality of life of life for its citizens globally, in accordance with the SDGs. Finally, Christina, let me emphasize how we greatly appreciate and support your commitment and all the works of the Secretariat in supporting cities and sustainable development around the world. So thank you. Thank you all. And now I pass the floor back to Yining.
Thank you, Giampiero and Christina. Dear colleagues and participants, as we approach the conclusion of today's meeting, it's now my pleasure to invite Ms. Wendy Goico Campania, Vice Chair of the U4SSC initiative, to deliver her closing remarks. Wendy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, dear Jeanine. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues and partners. As we come to the close of this 9th meeting of the United for Smart and Sustainable Cities Initiative, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you, our city leaders, UN partners, experts, and practitioners for your active engagement and unwavering commitment to advancing people-centered digital transformation. Today's discussions have shown how our collective efforts continue to evolve through collaboration, innovation, and shared purpose. We also had the pleasure of launching our new U4SSC deliverable on digital transformation, a milestone that provides cities framework with a clear, practical, and people-centered approach to make digitalization more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. Our exchanges through the sessions have reaffirmed that U4SSC's mission remains clear: to ensure that technology solves people, strengthens resilience, and accelerates progress toward the Pact for the Future, its Global Digital Compact, and the Sustainable Development Goals. With now 20 UN entities, including our newest partner, UNITAR, joining forces under U4SSC, I'm particularly delighted to highlight this inclusion. Our platform continues to demonstrate the power of unity in advancing global collaboration for local impact. Let us carry this momentum forward, working across disciplines, borders, and communities to turn today's ideas into tomorrow's realities. Safe, resilient, inclusive, and digitally empowered cities. Thank you all for your dedication, your partnership, and your leadership. It is an honor to share this journey with each of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy, for your insightful remarks. Dear participants, this brings us to the end of today's event. We are truly encouraged to see such strong participation today, with many colleagues joining us from across region and time zone, a clear demonstration of the growing global commitment to advancing people-centered, smart, sustainable cities and communities. We would like to extend our deepest appreciation to all speakers, moderators, and participants for their active engagement. We also invite you to stay connected with the U4SSC initiative and continue contributing to its work towards smart, sustainable cities. To learn more, please visit our website or contact us at u4ssc@itu.int. Thank you once again for being with us today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next U4SSC gathering. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are joining us from. Thank you.